Welcome, everybody. We are live. This is the Red Leaf Retrocast, Worldwide Weebs, getting a little bit more worldwide today. We have a special guest that is Andrew from the Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. I'm glad he's here. Andrew, please welcome the masses.
I'm Andrew, and I'm here, and I'm glad to be here. I'm from the Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast, and I'm glad to be here. I also just woke up 10 minutes ago, so your mileage may vary on how this turns out.
I always strive for a person to have a full night of sleep before the podcast, as much time as possible is needed, just so we can be 100% for this. Am I right, guys?
Well, you ain't getting it with me.
I'm also joined here by my amazing host, the best host spoken by the people, apparently, Tori, all the way from Norway.
I love the way you say apparently. Hey, everyone! Yeah, I'm back once again. You don't get rid of me that easily.
I would never want to get rid of you. Where would this anime podcast be without you?
A lot less popular. Well, you'll be missing most popular, most obviously, so, you know. Sadly, though, we are once again one man short. There is no Hickey.
There is no Brazilian here. You know what? He says he's studying for this thing called school and degrees and whatever. I think he's getting super hyped for the upcoming World Cup because he's Brazilian. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's mandatory in his country.
I mean, oh please! Like I had my final exam like a couple days ago, and I'm still here. So, you know.
Well, Norway is just like America and Canada in not making the World Cup.
Yay! I mean, let's be real. Norway hasn't made a World Cup since 1998.
I think that's sooner than Canada's made the World Cup.
Yeah, I don't
think it's ever made it.
I think Canada made it once in the 70s.
Maybe.
Maybe? Oh, don't quote me on that one. I did go to a few international friendlies. I have seen Canada play, and they are not good. They try.
Welcome to the club.
Hey, when you see a country get spanked by Jamaica, you might be America, you might say, but it's also Canada.
Yeah. 1986 was the last time we made it.
Oh, okay, that was a decade off.
You wanna know what's even more annoying, though? Norway's been playing friendly matches against World Cup-ready teams like Iceland and Panama. We beat them all, now that it doesn't matter anymore.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the World Cup, it was quite funny watching we're on the heels of E3, not just the World Cup as well, and I watched the EA conference yesterday, and it's been a while since I've seen a room of Americans not give two shits more about soccer than they have ever before. Watching this presentation of here's the World Cup, and you're seeing people just go, "What is that? Is that the Stanley Cup of soccer on there?" I'm like, "Oh my god, it's the Champions League trophy."
Oh yeah, I love it.
Come on, guys! It's the largest sport in the world.
Oh, but it's not America. So here's the esports. Right. Here's the esports champion with the WWE title of Madden, and everyone still didn't care. Like you can't even get your own sport over.
You have a bunch of video game nerds collecting a room. People go back, yeah, sports, and everything. You have that one guy in the back. He's like, yay,
yay.
I'm really here for something else, though.
Well, I'm curious about who's everyone's pick for the World Cup this year, since this is gonna be the sports anime podcast, because Andrew goes, hey, thanks for having me, guys. We're gonna talk about Whistle. That was your pick.
Yes, it was, because it's like one of my favorite anime. I'll fight you.
Wow, really?
Well, I expect to get into the octagon later. UFC 225 was later. But instead of the octagon, we're going to fight on the pitch like Zinedine and Zidane. Headbutt and all.
Problems that way.
Yeah. Well, my pick's Germany. It always goes Deutschland, Los Deutschland, wie geht's immer, so...
Yeah.
Who's everyone else's pick?
I mean, for me, I've always had a soft spot for these guys. And I always want them to do well, so I'm still putting a button on France. France got a great squad, and they're probably going to disappoint, like they usually do, but I hope, I expect Germany to win.
You expect them to win? Back to back.
I think they have, among all the squads that are present at World Cup, I think they have by far the strongest squad and most depth to their squad, so
I would definitely agree on the depth for sure. Andrew, what do you think?
I don't really pay attention to this very much, so I'm just gonna say Japan to keep it nice, simple, and easy breezy.
But of course, the outsider favorite, Japan.
I mean, there's no one from North America in here for me to root for.
Well, Mexico
There's no
made
one
it.
for me to root for.
Oh, right, Mexico.
And then everyone else that's not America pretty much made it.
I mean, go Argentina.
Ooh, well, didn't Lazzini get super injured?
Lanzini is going to miss the World Cup and the almost the entirety of the next season.
Whoa, I didn't know it was that bad. Ouch.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, that's a major player loss for Argentina.
Is it like a torn ACL, the most common sports injury?
Something like that, yeah.
Torn ACL, half broken neck.
Almost dead.
Maybe Messi's gonna get a broken back from carrying that team on it.
He hasn't so far.
I think this is like his last chance, guys.
I think it is as well. Yeah.
Well, how old is he now? 31?
No, he's older than that.
32? He's not that much older.
Is he not? I thought he was like almost. Oh, he's 30. Never mind.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, then he's got one more left, but I don't know with
Yeah,
that Argentina.
maybe.
The Argentina
I mean,
squad's definitely gonna have to get some more talent.
It's not necessarily that he has it one more time. Remember, he's already technically retired from the national team once before, so what's to say he's not going to do it again?
Not everyone can pull a Zlatan Ibrahimovic and just be like, I don't want to play for my national team anymore. They suck.
Yeah, and then they qualify for the World Cup, and he's like, take me back in, guys.
He's like, can I play again? I want to play.
And then coach is just like, no.
No, he's Zidane. Not Zidane. Zlatan is too busy like getting in fights on the MLS field right now in LA.
I mean, that's just Zlatan, though. He's always been that guy.
I love him. So we're okay. Enough about that. You guys paying attention to E3 at all?
I heard that at like 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or daytime time, whatever, they dropped the date for Kingdom Hearts 3 after a concert, apparently, just like that. Boom.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, they did. It's like January 19th or something next year.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be for Christmas season 2018. I was very wrong about that. So it seems.
Well, everyone's got to spend their Christmas money. Am I right?
Yeah, but come on. It would have been such a great opportunity to put it out way sooner than this.
Yeah, just
can we start
even
over?
a couple weeks. Oh, what happened?
My computer froze, and I think my audio got corrupted.
All right. Just start your audio from here, and I'll use the total audio.
But I've got a bunch of. I think I'm gonna have to restart my computer anyway, so there's no point. My computer is being a bitch right now.
Oh,
Well, we can. Well, Andrew and I can wait. I really want to keep the beginning audio.
All right then, but I'm not gonna keep mine.
No. That's fine.
So it's okay. It'll be like, hey, everyone, we're doing good. It's like,
Yeah,
it'll be so.
I'm gonna need to fucking. I can't even hear you guys anymore. Just
Oh,
kidding.
no.
No, don't save. Oh, come on.
Technical difficulties. It's all right. It's all
We're
good.
doing it live.
We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
Wouldn't be a cast without it.
That's
Oh my
how
God.
technical difficulties work. Honestly, I'm so glad that happened to you, Tori. Because he's gone. So I'm so glad that happened because I was afraid because I turned off all of my cooling that my computer might freeze because the fan in my computer has been a little bit annoying about working, and I have to get a new one. So yeah.
All right.
Making them notes.
Making them notes. I gotta do it, you know? 8 minutes in. Oh, I really like the start. I definitely want to keep it, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. But I'm glad he's paying attention.
Why? Because that happened before and he didn't notice?
It's happened to like a couple of us before, and it's like 20 minutes. It's like an hour and 20 minutes in. It's like, oh boy, when did that stop?
Oh God. Look, I'll put it this way: recording this for the next 2 hours straight potentially freaks me out. By the way, because I'm used to my computer crashing or Windows 10 updates that I've learned to section off all of my recordings.
All right,
To
I'll keep that. I'll keep that in mind.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything. But let's put it this way: that surprises are weird, and I'm not a
Sure.
big fan of them sometimes when they come from my computer.
Well, I hope we can keep this to about a couple hours max.
Yeah, don't worry. I don't actually have 50 million things to say on Whistle. Well, I do, but I'll just make more and more podcasts about it. Eventually, the world will see it.
The world will see.
Mm. Yeah, I have to finish editing mine from I recorded. Record editing. It takes so long when you record solo episodes.
I thought about doing solo episodes before, but I'd rather just wait till some of the hosts can get together. At least one other.
Oh yeah, but it's so well. You release so much content, that's fine.
Yeah, I try to get an episode out a week minimum from something. Know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely get that. I mean, I have 2 podcasts on 2 different feeds, so let me just pimp out the link here.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are live on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer.
I tried going to the Mixer link. It didn't seem to be working when I went.
Really now? Because it's on.
Mixer. Like, it wasn't displaying anything. Mix.
Nope, it's working.
Okay, maybe that's just my craziness.
What, did you click the Twitter link and it wasn't working?
No, I just tried going to it like I normally do. I don't know how I did it, though. I can't seem to get back there the way I got there the first time.
No. Just Mixer/Bowling JD.
Yeah, that's what I did. Mixer. Oh, there we go. It's because it had a whole bunch of a string of characters after it. That makes sense.
Yeah, World Cup is 4 days away. I'm God, my God, nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna get crazy, especially in Montreal. Well, maybe not crazier than other places in the world, but it's a fairly diverse, multicultural presence here in Montreal. So
I quite liked my time in Montreal myself.
And literally everyone would be cheering for a different team. So you got to be careful. I went to Reese other team match, and like on one half people rooting for Greece, on the other half is people rooting for the other team.
Yeah, no. When the Euro was happening a couple years ago, and I was in Toronto, I lived close. In Toronto, I lived close to like the Portuguese and Italian neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there was just so many people, and the city that part of the city I was living in just literally had a meltdown when Portugal won. And here I am just showing up in my Germany jerseys and everything. I'm like, oh.
So the funny thing about World Cup time is that everyone pretty much strips their nationality in whatever they're in.
Yeah, it does seem weird, doesn't it?
To root for whatever nationality they are. It's not weird. I get you have to pull them in.
Tori, Tori's back. There he is. Okay. Bringing him in. There he is.
But yeah, it's kind of funny how that happens, yeah.
There, okay. They're still hoping now that nothing bad happens.
Same here. Fingers crossed.
I mean, it's probably most likely gotta happen, because it always does.
Is it just your computer's old and silly, or is it because...
Well, my computer is old and silly, but I haven't really had any problems with it. Up until, well, I don't even know what happened. My computer just started like just basically it froze up for a while. Like just as JD, like I'm looking at the stream and JD's like, yeah, he's talking, and then all of a sudden he stops talking. I hear no sound, nothing, and I'm like, did he just disconnect his mic? But I'm getting no response. Nothing. I tried connecting and stuff. Nothing is happening. Before I know it, my fucking audio was just broken, fragmented up, and like I'm just looking at it, and it keeps freezing. And I'm like, well, what is going on? My computer's freaking out.
All right, man. You good to go then?
Yeah, it just counts down again.
Well, okay. It's only going to be your audio, so you can just hit record.
All right.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
With timestamps.
You ready, sir?
I am ready. I'm recording.
Okay. Hooray! 16 minutes.
Woo!
So, well, alright guys. This is the Sports Anime Podcast. This is a long time coming. Andrew, I'd like to thank you for your contribution, for sure, and being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if any of this sounds like weird and out of place, like we repeated ourselves, yeah, hooray for technical difficulties.
But E3, JD, what about it?
Yeah, E3. My God, I am hyped. Are you guys hyped?
No.
No, not at all?
Not at all.
And why not, Tori? Don't you play video games? Kind of, sort of, maybe one?
I play a couple video games every once in a while, but, you know, I've never cared about E3. Even when I was hardcore into gaming, I never watched a single E3.
Damn.
What about you, Andrew?
I don't get into it like a few of my friends. I do like some of the conferences, but for a while there, I didn't usually have the newest console. So I usually just only paid attention to the Nintendo conferences because of like 3DS stuff. That was the only one I actually had. PC. I do have a PC, but
well, that means you should pay attention to the Microsoft conference, obviously.
Oh God. So, but I do have good memories of E3. Actually, funny enough, now that you mention it, on Facebook, one of my most liked posts from 2013 is the post of the Wikipedia page when Sony burned Xbox hard on sharing games, and it's a little post on Wiki. Someone went to burn centers,
right?
And it said Microsoft headquarters for the bad burning that Sony just gave them. Something to that effect. It's a really good tweet. Maybe I'll share it one of these days again.
Yeah. Well, I'm a major video gamer. I have just about every console you can think of outside of just super obscure ones, which I have been looking at trying to get some sort of ZX Spectrum. It's a British video game machine. So E3 has been a hard tradition of mine every year, at least with be it getting magazines in the 90s to watching it live on Twitch and just kicking back and talking with friends online during it. I'm always very hyped for it. So today's the Xbox conference in Bethesda. I can't wait. I don't even like Xbox, but I like competition. I always like the conversations and discussions that go with them, or even just something to convince me to get more video games. I'm just that kind of person. Been that way my whole life. Even living in Canada, like I got to see a different side of gaming because of just what's available. The games always have to be translated into French. Andrew, you may know something about that.
Yeah, Quebec has rules. Lots of rules.
Just from like a retro gaming perspective, that the amount of Sega that was in Canada I found very fascinating. So I got like my Master System when I had moved there and started collecting for that. So very excited. And then what I was disappointed with yesterday with EA was they didn't really go into a lot of the FIFA and Madden, because even I like sports. I like sports anime. I like sports video games. Tori, you like FIFA.
Sadly, yes.
And yet they showed nothing about FIFA. So I was like, Jesus.
Oh, Shocking.
Are
really.
you ever gonna convince me to buy another FIFA game?
I mean, they shouldn't have to, right? Because, every FIFA game is just a demo for the next FIFA game that's going to come out. So.
I like that analogy of it.
It's true.
But anyways,
like your soccer manager game every year.
I mean, there's football.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's Football Manager. When I was doing internships and whatnot in Romania and other parts of Europe, I was playing Football Manager constantly.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but yeah, Tori, do you have anything you wanna talk about just off the cuff? Like what you've been doing?
Well, yeah, no, like I said,
didn't you start Yakuza recently?
What?
Didn't you start playing Yakuza?
Oh, right. I was confused there for a second. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Yes, I did start playing Yakuza 6, actually. Yakuza's a game series I've been interested in for a long time. I didn't really have any experience with it apart from, like, Yakuza. I played a bit of Yakuza 4. That was fun, but I didn't stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of... And then, a very good YouTuber, who I watch a lot, I really like his analysis videos, he puts out a video titled, Why You Should Play Yakuza. And I was like, that's the one video that I never wanted to see, because now I know he's so good at making me want to watch something, so now I know he's going to make me want to play something. But I watch it anyways, because, he's pretty good.
Right.
And he's specifically talking about Yakuza 6 and Yakuza 0. So I'm obviously watching it, and when I'm done, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I gotta get me a Yakuza game. So I decided on 6 first. It doesn't really matter for me.
Why 6 over 0? Out of curiosity.
Well, for the lamest reason ever, Yakuza 6 is the newest one. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me. 6, I get it. It's a prequel.
Sure.
But it's highly unlikely that I'm ever gonna go back and play through the entirety of the Yakuza game series anyways. Mm-hmm. So I don't really care if I get the ending or I get it's not the end, but like if I get where they are now or if I get the very beginning. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I can still go back and play Yakuza 0 after this if I really want to, and then we'll take it from there. So I just decided, fuck it, let's go. Everyone kept saying the Yakuza 0 is the best, so I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's start with 6.
Are you gonna play the Kiwami games as well?
Probably not.
Well, I finally buckled down and bought Yakuza 0 and Kiwami myself. There was a big sale going on, and I got them both for like $15.
Nice.
I was quite happy with that. Every time I play a Yakuza game these days, it's always through like a friend on the PlayStation Share Play, where they just boot up the game and I'm just talking to them and they hand the controller over to me virtually. I love doing.
So, are you guys planning on getting 3, 4, and 5 remasters when they come out then?
Well, I already have 5 on the PS3 because that was like given away.
Makes sense.
At one point, if I like the Yakuza games, if I truly love those like first 2 games that I have, then sure, why not?
Yeah, that's basically where I am as well.
It's not like they're expensive.
Yeah, like it completely depends on what I think about the game. It's like, am I interested? Like, if I like this game enough, sure, I can do it. But I'm not, as of right now, I'm not like, I don't have any plans to do it, and I probably won't do it right away anyways. So when it comes out, I'll probably be like way down the line.
Well, I'm excited you're playing Yakuza. It's a goofy game, that's for sure.
It sure is. Like I said, it's like, I'm trying to catch the guy who fucking ran over Haruka, or trying to figure out who that is. But really though, what I'm actually doing is I'm going to fucking cabaret clubs and cat cafes, and like that guy, he can wait.
Have you been bowling yet?
I have not been bowling.
Oh.
I've been destroying at darts though. I love that.
See, Tori, what you need to do is you need to go bowling in Yakuza, get back to me on 3 scores you just had in the game, and then I'll tell you when I go bowling if I beat you in reality.
No, man. You should try. You should see if you can beat my score in fucking darts. I'm so good at darts. I don't understand it. I'm good at darts in real life, and I'm good at darts in Yakuza.
I mean, hand-eye coordination.
Well, I don't really have that. It only comes out when I play darts. I don't know why.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
I thought you can only play darts in a shady bar, in a town you've never been in, getting drunk with people you've never seen before. I thought that was the requirement for playing darts.
Well, professionally, yes.
Don't forget, you actually accidentally have to send the dart the wrong way, but still nail the target that's just over a person's head.
Oh, that's right. It has to mandatorily bounce off someone's beer glass accidentally.
Yeah.
And then you just go, I meant to do that. And then you throw down a shot.
Skills.
Andrew, what do you got for something random you want to talk about? And then we can get this cast started.
Okay. I've been playing Super Robot Wars Z. That is for the PS Vita. It is the Hong Kong version of the game, but it has fully translated English, script in it and everything, so I can actually play it. So the Super Robot Wars games are basically a mecha multiverse mixing video game that's been on pretty much every single console except for maybe current gen Nintendo consoles. So
Sure.
And it's all these different types of robots, from Mazinger to Gundam to, I guess, to Cross Engine.
Oh,
this one.
I'm familiar with this game now. Okay.
Yeah. So that one's been a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I can't get any of the DLC if I wanted to, but also
maybe that's for the best.
Oh yeah, it is. But it's actually really fun, and the stories is pretty great, and it's kind of funny when you put them all together, how similar a lot of mecha shows really are, and how easy it is to put them together.
No way, you're making that up.
Look, sometimes photonic energy is the same as Getter rays, that's the same as spiral energy. I mean, you just gotta use it.
Listen, okay, that's like saying that fundamentally sports anime and shonen adventures are the same. Come on.
No, that's also crazy, Tori. Black Clover is the most original thing this year. It's so much better. It's not copying anything.
Yeah. No, not
totally
at all.
Not. No,
never.
Totally not. No.
Definitely not. No. But no, Super Robot Wars is very fun. I bought an import copy when I was in New York. This one I think is out of print, and there's another one that they also translated in English, and I think it's Super Robot Wars W, and I have to go pick that up at some point in the near future before that gets sold out online.
Well, there is a site you might want to look at. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's playasia.com.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I should say the name on here or not, so that's why I didn't say it.
No, if I want a PSVR physical copy, for example, if I wanted something that's sold in the EU only, then PlayAsia is where to get it, or well, you get the idea. But yeah, I know. Okay, cool. Then you're well aware.
Oh yeah, no. I was looking at the prices when I debated picking up the other physical copy that was in the shop I bought it from, and I was like, should I? But no, I can wait. And it's X. My bad. Oh shucks. Is it really that much Canadian? Okay, never mind. Ignore me.
Well, you've also bought a bunch of Digimon games because you spoke on your podcast about that as well, right?
Oh, I haven't played those yet though. But I picked up Hacker's Memory, which is is that the Digimon Cyber Sleuth game? Yeah, it's the second in the Digimon Cyber Sleuth series. But that one for the PS4, and I picked up the Digimon World Next Order, which is the new one. I'll eventually get to those, but sitting down at home to play console games is not entirely my jam, because I'm never home.
All right. Yeah, we just came off our last anime podcast. We were speaking about the first the Mamoru Hosoda Digimon movie.
Thanks for reminding me. Oh my gosh, that was a pain to listen to a little bit because, come on guys, so much wrong information.
Well, why don't you correct us right now then?
Okay, first of all, it's not Alphamon, it's Omegamon. It's the other side of the spectrum.
Oh God.
That's the thing that got me every time. It's so it's Alphamon. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it isn't, but it's been so long, I can't say for sure.
Second of all, Pokemon is good and all, but Digimon is way better. And
Thank you!
Is that not what everyone said?
I didn't say that was wrong information. I don't remember all the wrong information.
Okay.
It's been a few weeks.
Oh, you didn't take notes, huh? I see.
You didn't.
Well, no. I like to believe I'm not that kind of person. No, but otherwise, it's your Slayers review where I just kind of went, "Ooh, guys, come on, just a little bit. You could love it a little bit."
No.
Tori.
I was very much alone in that cast.
No, I can't love it a little bit. I gave it a 5. That's.
Wait, did you give it a 7?
I gave it a 7.
Oh, okay.
Or 6 or something.
I thought you all gave it the same score of like 6 or 7.
No.
I think that's what it averaged out to. But yeah, it was about it's fine.
But otherwise, you guys did fine for the review.
Oh, appreciate it. We always like a little feedback there.
I really wish you guys had watched Digimon the movie, the not the 4Kids, the Saban version, the English dub with all the silliness that is from start to end.
Oh, that makes Tori
so
cringe
good.
immediately. It makes him shiver.
Whenever somebody says, "I really wish you would have watched dub," then I'm like, oh.
Oh no, the dub
No.
is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's so much fun.
Oh boy. Well then, why don't we move on to our first little discussion thing, Andrew? And for those listening, what we've done is Tori and I are on a quest to watch old anime to new, and we're getting more to the modern stuff as things gone on. The podcast is really and the spring season has really cut my quest short, but Tori's still chugging away. And what is your latest quest update, Tori?
Yes, I have a quest update, and for right now, where I am in my quest, I am currently up to like 2007, I think. Yeah,
Nice.
and
Wow.
the last show that I watched was from 2006, or finished rather, was from 2006, and it's called Flag. No, it is not that shitty harem thing that. I hate that because every time I mention Flag, everyone's like, "Oh, that's that shitty harem thing," and I'm like, "No."
Oh,
No, it
is that
isn't.
what people go to? I was gonna say, did it Raise Your Flag by Man with a Mission?
Ooh, good
See,
song.
that I would have liked. I would have enjoyed it because that song is great. But anyways, this isn't about Man with a Mission. This is about Flag. Flag is a 13-episode ONA, so
Oh, that's
that
weird.
animation, and it's directed by Ryosuke Takahashi, who I was recently informed is apparently the guy, or people claim him to be the guy that put Real into Real Robots. So he has a bit of history there, especially within the mecha genre. And what Flag is like it's all about war, but it's about war as seen through the eyes of like frontline journalists. So what we meet Saiko Shirasu,
Mm-hmm.
our main character, or our protagonist, through the other main character, who is Keiichi Akage. They're both journalists, and they're both in this country that I have forgotten the name of right now. It's a made-up country where there's a civil war raging, and the UN forces have invaded the country to try to stop this religious group that is a former cult of assassins from creating disturbances. But obviously the war is affecting the people. And what is very interesting with this is, as you can probably tell from the PV, well, not maybe that easily, but everything in this is shot first person, as if you're seeing it through the camera of the reporters.
Oh, cool. I like the
don't
character
see-
art I'm seeing as well.
Yeah, it's incredibly interesting. Like, this reminds me of the 80s in terms of, like, whenever people have said, oh, the 80s was a golden time where people would experiment and try different things. That is exactly what this is. I have never seen a war story told in anime this way before. I'm not going to say there aren't any, but I sure haven't heard of them. And it's incredibly interesting because, like, there isn't, like, it's showing war through obviously the lenses of the cameras of the journalists. But as you would expect in war, there are no good, there are no evil. Yeah, there are UN forces that have invaded this country to try to create peace, but create peace through the only way you know how to do it, which is to just subjugate your enemy, force them to accept peace. And the people that are suffering are obviously the people of the country because they're getting caught in the crossfire. And it is honestly just an incredibly interesting story.
So
all the way through, like simply using cameras.
So being that it's from that kind of perspective, I could see people maybe possibly getting seasick in some way, kind of like motion sickness. Did you feel any of that, or was it more of a still screen type presentation?
Well, it's basically. I mean, here's the thing: the camera is. It's not like it's shaking around the entire time.
Okay.
So you don't have to deal with that. It is both told through film, like when they're recording, or when they are taking pictures. So they use both those. So sometimes you just hear, talking over pictures, or just monologuing over pictures and whatnot, narrating over pictures, and sometimes it's video. It really depends on how you want to, or it depends on where you are. But I mean, as somebody who has a bit of a problem with the motion sickness, no, I did not feel any motion sickness. The only time I would say you could get close is when Shirazu, she sometimes, I think it happens twice in the 13 episodes, she will like open up her computer and she has this like self-recording program that she is sitting there and she's like going through her footage, and then she is typing on the computer what she thinks rather than talking.
Okay.
And what this has this like weird, like gray, like light grayish filter over it, and it's like motion blur. Like when she moves, like you have like the like after image of her where she sat is like still burned into the screen, and then it's moving after her, and that's a bit weird. I can see somebody maybe getting a bit like, not necessarily motion sick, but you can get it. You probably notice that a bit, but again, it literally happens twice in 13 episodes, and that's the worst offense of it. Other than that, it's this. All the pictures and all the video is also made by putting this artificial grain over it. So it's not, obviously this isn't HD quality, being from 2006. So it's. Sure. So, you get a bit extra grain because they have a grain filter on everything as well, but it makes sense,
It makes sense for the atmosphere and setting it's put in. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
And yes, as I said, the director, he is known for his robot work, so yes, there are robots in this. No, they're not that prevalent. There is this weapon that is being, this secret weapon that the UN is developing, that you get to see a lot of, which is like it's like a tank type machine, but it can also walk on two legs. So it's essentially just you can almost look at it as like it's a tank with legs.
Yeah, I have the trailer playing in the live stream here, which, by the way, Red Leaf Retrocast is live on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. You can find those in the description below. Bowling JD. Yeah. I have it playing in the live stream here, and it's given me kind of this Metal Gear Solid type vibe, with how it's a focus on a war story, and there just happens to be mechs in this universe.
Yeah, they're not prevalent. Most of the fights are used, for the most part. When I say fights, there aren't really that many. There aren't exactly fights. It's not like it's not like they're constantly going out into war. It's like we're following certain missions and certain happenings, the way you would kind of get them through media. When there's a war going on, you read a newspaper, you catch the news story, and it's like, oh, there's been a bombing, and then you might have a footage of that. It's kind of like that. There's like once you get to see a missile actually drop, but you have some fights or some war towards the end. But for the most part, it is really just like you see, oh, there's a tank riding up and it is firing at you or something like that. It's an interesting show. Really, it's quite unlike anything else I've seen. It's, as a war story, it is very different, and I liked it.
That's what it sounds like. Andrew, what do you think about all of what do you think of Flag and what Tori has said?
So from what I've seen in the stream and from what I'm hearing, it sounds like a very interesting concept that you don't actually see played with a lot in anime, which is quite surprising that. Well, when I was looking at the studio while you were talking as well, and they haven't done much in terms of like their own productions since this. They've done a lot of more in between work, it seems. But it's surprising to me. Like, did this not make enough money for them?
Well, I mean, again, it's an ONA, right? So this was it's a web made anime. It's not. I'm not gonna say it's not for sale. It probably is, but like, again, the thing with especially in today's anime market, like I said, this is different. This is more experimental, and if there's one thing I know about experimental anime in today's market, is that they don't do well. People don't care for that. That's why I said this reminds me more of the '80s, where experimental was all they had.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in this for sure.
So my actual question is, would you be, because of how experimental it is and how, in a way, is it very anime in a lot of ways still with the experimentalness? Or would you say you could recommend it to someone who kind of views anime as this this mostly silly medium? Would it be something that would possibly be something interesting for them that might change their mind a little?
Well, let's put it this way. If I were to introduce someone to anime, I would never show them Flag, because this is not what anime is. Yes, I would absolutely show this to somebody who is just like, I'm not gonna say you necessarily do well by showing this to somebody who's like, oh, anime, that's the stupid thing. It's like, oh, but like, it's different. It is very different, and honestly, I could see you showing this to basically anyone, and they'd be like, oh, cool. So this is like. Oh, this is like a cool war story, or I say cool. This is a nice war story, and then, you have. It's just that it happens to be animated. It's not. It doesn't remind you of anime in any way. It's not stereotypically anime. It's just maybe apart from like some happenings at the end, but I'm not gonna spoil that.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I'm definitely interested in it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it's piqued me.
I would highly recommend this one. It's like I've heard of it before, but I was unsure of what it was. So going into this, I went in kind of blind, and I'm looking at it on Mal and seeing the score and everything. I see there's actually been quite a few people. It's not popular, but there's been a few people that have watched this, and I'm actually shocked that people like it's got a 7.28 on Mal. I'm like, really? You didn't like, even the people that liked it didn't like it more than that? I don't know, man.
Anime fans are weird.
They are.
Well, that's for sure.
There's no more way.
But it does actually have me interested in checking this out, to be honest.
Again, I would highly recommend it. And like I said, it's only 13 episodes, so it's not that long.
Yeah, it's not a big commitment. Not unlike sports anime. There's a good segue. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, sports.
Yay, sports!
Sports!
Oh, let me play this drop.
Go Speed Racer! Go Speed Racer! Go Speed Racer! Go!
Alright. We're talking sports anime, so all you listeners and viewers out there, get your pen and paper out, because we got a lot to discuss here on what to expect out of a sports anime, some notable sports animes, tropes to expect, and just general conversation on why we enjoy it, what we don't like about it. I am a heavy sports fan. I'm a sports player. I do all the sports ball. Tori, you're an anime fan. You've watched a few sports.
I have watched some sports anime, yes.
What about you, Andrew?
Oh, I used to play soccer when I was younger, and I just recently started going back to the gym, but otherwise... And I play a yearly football... Okay, so I guess I do play some sports. What can I say? But I'm not as regular in the sports thing as I used to be.
Oh,
I watch
man.
hockey, because I can't skate.
Actually, I don't know how to ice skate very well at all. I know how to rollerblade, and that barely translates to on blades with ice. I'm more like that guy from the Mighty Ducks. I'm like, yeah, I can get going. It's just I'm hitting the boards at the end to stop myself or running into somebody.
That works. I mean, you would think it would be a 1-to-1 correlation, but
I remember when I first moved to Michigan, and they're like, "You don't know how to ice skate?" And I was like, "Well, growing up in Texas, ice isn't a thing, so I know how to fall on concrete well." So they're teaching me how to stop, and they're like, "No, you just turn your skates real hard and dig into the ice." I'm like, "Okay." I would either slip and fall on my shoulder, or be what's a good funny analogy here? I would hit the ice, and then it would be, let's just say, momentum would then go the other way, and my feet would stay where they're at.
That's because you're not balancing it correctly. God, Jamie.
Oh God.
You need to understand now. Like, for me, ice skating is easily one of those things. Like, I've learned to ice skate so many times, but every time I go to ice skate again, I've forgotten how to do it.
But you live, don't you have ice in your house? Because you live in the fjords, don't you not?
I mean, I do have ice in my house. It is also in my freezer. But,
are you telling me that skating isn't like riding a bike?
I mean, well, I would even say the same thing about riding a bike. If you're off a bike for long enough, it feels weird getting on one again. So it's like, you know how to do it, but it's just one of those things. Like, if you're not used to that sensation of just slipping, trying to like make up for that is very weird. And it'll take you like a couple minutes to just sort everything out.
Oh man. Well, God, I have so much sports history that it's just so much. It's too much to get into. Ranging from growing up playing second base for my baseball team, from elementary all the way to high school, basketball teams in Germany, across nations, bowling to this day. Just bowled a 300 the other week. Definitely go listen to the podcast where I spoke about it. But yeah, like sports anime, it's almost like a disease when I watch one because of how enamored I am with sports and anime itself. Go figure, with an anime podcast, right, guys? That when I turn a sports anime on, no matter what it is, it's just so, I don't know. I usually find them easy to watch. They're addicting. What they are, I just gotta keep going. I could never stop. I mean, I remember one day I watched I started the second season of Major out of nowhere, and I proceeded to stay up all night watching the entire season in a day. It's a problem.
Maybe a little bit.
So what is it? What are you guys' history with sports anime, or what do you think about it? What does it do to you?
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
What? Okay. So with me, sports anime is one of those things that I may not have seen a ton of them, but I've seen a bit of a lot of them, especially the soccer ones. I've mentioned it on my own podcast that I've read all of the original Captain Tsubasa run in French from the France translation of it, and
Wow.
I played soccer for a little bit, but it always makes me want to go and play the sport, even if I don't like the sport. So something like baseball, which I don't say I hate, but I'm not a big fan of.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm watching or reading a baseball thing and it's really good, I'm definitely gonna be like, I kind of want to go hit some balls with a bat. And I just usually what I look for in a sports anime, and that's sort of where my history is. I've just watched a little bit of everything, so like, especially the sports one, and especially if they come out in the last decade or so, I've definitely seen like a bits, pieces, if not all of them.
Right. It's funny you bring up baseball. I actually just got off the phone with my mom before the podcast and bought Boston Red Sox tickets.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, like, my history with sports anime is like I haven't seen that much sports anime, mostly because I don't tend to seek out sports anime. I like sports, and I tend to like sports. Well, I like some sports anime, but it's not something I seek out. Mostly because I feel like I tire of sports anime because, I mean, I'm gonna be that guy. It's all the same. But I mean, in that sense as well, it's how well it managed to do the things that, even though you're used to and you know how it's gonna play out, it's like, does it still get you excited, or is it just meh? Like, but I mean, that's why even if I know how it goes, some shows are sports anime. It's like, the first time I really seeked out sports anime, I watched Kuroko no Basket. It's like, as silly as that is, god damn it, did it get me pumped up. I don't remember how many times I did, but I would literally go out and be like, I gotta play some basketball after this. Like, I can't sit still. this is too much. I need to move. I need to do something, and it's just that's how it is. Same thing. Haikyuu. I really like Haikyuu, and even though I could literally sit there and go, yeah, okay, so they're gonna like this match because this is this is them. They're playing as their rival, so this is obviously gonna be the loss and stuff like that. And just even though I know it's like it happens in front of me, and I'm still like, oh, that was awesome.
I know what you mean. So, before the cast, I made an agenda like a responsible podcaster.
Yay!
Hooray for me! And I went on the line, and I wrote down a notable sports anime, and for the sake of the podcast and how we do it, we consider something, or at least we try to consider something retro, 15 years from the date or older. So, and we're going, for the sake of this, I'm going by the start date of the anime, because a couple of these are still going to this day. So I'm just gonna go through these, and if you've seen it or you have a question over them, I'm just gonna say like what it's about basically, real quick, and then you can just interrupt me when you feel like it. That goes for you too, Andrew. Don't hesitate. Alrighty?
Don't worry.
Alright. So we're going pre-2003 to be retro for this cast. I'm starting with Tiger Mask, 1969, super old. You guys familiar with Tiger Mask?
I am familiar with Tiger Mask.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I'm familiar that there's a new Tiger Mask.
Oh, he's the fourth one.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's a wrestling anime, and not the catch wrestling or sumo. It is WWE style, New Japan Tiger Mask wrestling.
So it's shit. Got it.
Well, there was a new one, and it was very okay. It was kind of self-aware what it wanted to be, but the old one focuses on Tiger Mask, this wrestler who goes to America, and he's a bad guy, right? And the whole story begins while he goes, but he kind of retires and goes back to Japan, and a kid goes, "I want to be just like you when I grow up," and he kind of has a revelation. It's like, well, I want to be a good role model. I don't want to be a role model where a kid wants to be a bad guy when they get older.
And then he beats up the kid. Yeah.
Yes, he beats up the kid, takes his lunch money, he goes, I'll see you in the steel cage this weekend. Very revolutionary for the time, let me tell you.
I mean, that would fit the time period. I remember going through. Well, I mean, this was like the 60s, but I remember going through like the 70s.
Yeah.
But watching stuff like Ore no Teppe, which is just like
right.
Literally, it's technically sports. It's about kendo, but it's literally about this kid who lives with his his drunkard of a dad who's run away from his family and looking for gold to try to make it big, and he's like constantly abusing his son, literally hitting him, literally fucking like beating him up. And I don't mean just like typical anime thing where it's like, oh, he knocks him on the head. It's like, no, he fucking knocks him unconscious.
Yeah, that's the thing about the old sports anime. They weren't afraid to beat children.
His teacher launched dynamite at him to try to kill him. It's like, I'm sitting there like, what the hell? It's like they're acting. Yeah, no, he's actually trying to kill him. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, so moving along. The next one I have written here is Ashita no Joe from 1970. Probably
Excuse me, I think it's pronounced Ashita.
Ashita. Tomorrow's Joe, if you want to go English. Probably the most revolutionary sports anime of all time. Got so popular at one point where a certain character has a certain thing happen to him, and there was a nationwide kind of gathering for it. And
thanks for low-key spoiling that for me, by the way.
It is from 1970, so you should know what happens. But yeah, it's also the first anime we covered on this podcast as well, all the way back in episode 1, and we all had raving reviews for it. It is definitely something worth checking out for sure. In my opinion, it's like the best story being told in a sports anime. In my opinion,
it's definitely up there.
Definitely up there. Have you seen it, Andrew?
No, I have not. I mean, I've seen the thing you are referring to
Mhm.
on YouTube because I was curious. Which is funny, when I was listening to it, one of the characters sounds like one of the characters in the new one. So I was just like, oh, they actually went for some realism there. That's pretty sweet. But yeah.
Yeah,
No.
there's even a current anime, Megalobox, is celebrating the anniversary of this anime and it's taking a lot of elements from it. Whether it's doing it well or not is well, that's a conversation for another day for sure.
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Andrew. The next one I have here, I actually quite enjoyed, and this was one of my Quest anime, Tori, at the time. It's Aim for the Ace, a tennis anime.
So this is not the Gunbuster Sports Festival anime.
It's the one that inspired it.
Yes, it is the one that inspired it. This is a tennis.
Joking.
It's 100% true. Yeah, this is Aim for the Ace. It's a tennis anime about a girl who kind of girl in school that finds kind of a purpose in life. And it's a story of her discovering tennis, getting better at it, and then going all the way to certain tournaments. I was actually quite impressed with this. It was, I thought I was gonna watch like a few episodes and be like, oh, I'm done here. I know what it is, but no, it was very captivating for 1973 for sure.
And
it's shoujo as fuck too.
For my next quest, I have the movie quest. I have the movie for this one coming up.
Oh, cool.
So it's
you'll have to you'll have to get back to me on that.
Yeah, and also I really like the fact that you now out of the 3 sports anime you mentioned, 2 of them is directed by Osamu Dezaki.
And for our audience, well, who is he?
He is kind of a revolutionary guy in the anime. He is kind of the guy that perfected the cost-cutting measures of anime.
There you go. Next one I have here pretty much should not need any introduction. It's Captain Tsubasa from 1983. A remake is going on right now in this current season and nailing it out of the park, in my opinion. And the original, I've seen bits and pieces. It's really good.
Yes, it is.
How different are they?
Not very. Well, in terms of just in animation, in terms of animation,
I'm talking about school.
No, I mean, it's mostly just cinematography.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's changed between the two. It's
not because I've heard, like, I heard different stuff, but I mean, that's common there. You always have someone say, oh my god, this is so much worse. It's like they didn't get anything. They're doing everything wrong. It's like the story doesn't make sense. The characters makes no sense. It's like, okay.
Wait, about Captain Tsubasa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, these people don't get it. The anime.
No. I mean, that's usually a fact, but when you have, that always happens whenever you have, like, some old anime that only a couple people in this fandom still remember watching it. They always and you always have that one guy because it's like, oh my god, this is, I'm not going to talk about whether or not it's good or not, but like, oh my god, this is doing everything wrong, and I'm just sort of like, I'm sure. Possibly.
No, Captain Tsubasa 2018 is doing everything right.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's a bit weird and out there at the same time, but it's very captivating. I find.
No.
All it does is want to make me go back and watch the original again because I saw it in Germany in bits and pieces myself, but I don't think it was the 1983 one. I think it was the later renditions of it, the sequels.
The J.
Yeah, whether it's Captain Tsubasa J or even some movies, the memory's a little hazy on that as well. But anyways, next one I have written here is Touch from 1985, which started essentially a slew of romance being a part of sports anime, especially in the 80s. Yeah, that's a baseball one, and then Yawara from 1989. Is another one, very much in that same realm of romance type sports anime. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this one I have written here. It's Future GPX Cyber Formula from 1991.
I haven't seen it per se, but I've definitely heard of it in the past.
I have never even seen or heard of it.
It's like Formula 1, but with more future shit involved, basically.
All right.
Yeah, Which, by the way, that brought up a question when, because I have seen this before in bits and pieces again, but it did bring up a question with me. I was wondering why, I mean, there are, say, MotoGP anime out there and Formula 1 anime, but they're hard to find. Like, it seems like they've been lost in time. Are you guys familiar with any of these, or have any comments?
I mean, no. Like the only thing I get is like it's just not that. It's not big enough. Nobody really cares.
I think it's more from the time when they came out. So at a lot of licensing at the time was either it was either easy for kids to watch or it was super violent, right?
Sure, yeah.
And a lot of these don't fall in the interesting for kids to watch category, and nor are they super violent. So a lot of licensors probably weren't picking them up. So, and it made it difficult probably for a lot of these random ones to be seen. And then no one sees them when they're a kid, or no one's really interested in them, so no one's going back and fan subbing them or finding them to fan sub.
Yeah, because when I was looking at statistics for what were the most popular and then what's available today, a few of those stood out as being like having good ratings back then. But like it must be something along the lines of just licensing just isn't interest. The interest has been lost because Formula One was super popular in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, but now it's not like it's still really popular, but we're not seeing any anime made, so it's clearly not in the same level.
Look, they just got to remake Speed Racer the movie, and that'll kickstart all the racing anime.
Oh, sure, right.
I mean, it's very possible that they're gonna do.
Yeah.
With all the remaking they're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, why come up with new ideas when you can just remake the old stuff that was popular?
Well, to be fair, they did redo the Speed Racer anime in, I think, the early 2000s, and that came out actually pretty good. Just as a side note.
Yeah. Now, the next few here are probably anime people are more familiar with, for sure, especially today. At least from...
one isn't.
Really? Okay, well, Slam Dunk from 1993.
Oh, that's like
a basketball anime, yeah.
Dunk Slam.
Dunk Slam. This has been something I've only seen like the first 6 episodes, and I really want to finish it. It was very captivating. I just haven't gone back and watched the rest of it. It's like it's immediately grasping. Yeah, it's that good.
For me, it's the same thing as with Name for the Ace. I'm not the first movie coming up on my movie quest.
What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, from what little I've seen of it, it's really good. It's really interesting. You'd be surprised that it holds up as well as it does this long afterwards.
The main character has a pompadour. I mean, come on. Oh God. Yeah, am I? God, I forgot to write this down in my notes, but isn't it the most successful sports manga of all time? Or is like Haikyuu or Yoa Pedal?
I think those have surpassed it, and I think Captain Tsubasa, it was the more successful internationally, at least, because of soccer being as big as it is. I think it's just that it's the most highly rated, I think, from a review perspective of those sports anime, especially around its time.
All right, the next one I have here is Blue Legend Shoot from 1993. Another soccer anime. I'm
gonna argue is not the one that people know about. Like, I only just recently found out about it myself, and I've watched a lot of the soccer anime. And it also has you remember that thing you were saying about how Touch introduced this romance soap opera element to sports anime? This anime suffers from it, I would say.
Okay.
Heavily. But it's still an interesting watch.
Tori?
It's got a pretty high rating on Mal. I've never heard of this one before.
There you go. Well, yeah, it's maybe if I just called it Shoot, maybe that would bring something else to mind. But anyways, moving on. Initial D, 1998. We just recently covered that one. That brings up the conversation. Is it actually a sports anime?
Well, I was going to ask, what about all the other pseudo-sports anime, like Beyblade and Hikaru no Go and Chess?
Oh, he got us, damn it. No.
Yeah, that brings up another conversation, which I'd love to talk about in a second here. Once we go through all these.
We had a bit of a conversation about that as well, and it was kind of just like, you can argue semantics, and you can argue definition, but it kind of feels wrong to have this list and not put, Initial D on there.
Yeah, I mean, if future, God, it's not technically licensed racing. It's illegal racing, just downhill, drifting types shit. So I don't know. If you, like you said, Tori, it's semantics at that point. I'm not here to totally argue if it is or is not a sports anime, but it is notable as being a popular anime, and if you consider racing anime, well then, or sports anime, then here you go. If God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, in some weird ways, I guess.
All right, Hajime no Ippo from 2000. You know that thing that Tomorrow's Joe ripped off.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Such a ripoff.
They're not rip-offs, but like, yeah, no, it is. Like, I mean, Hajime no Ippo was my introduction to boxing anime, and god damn it, I love Ippo. It is so good. It is amazing.
It definitely brought in the hype factor for sports anime with me.
Yeah.
I've seen like 8 episodes of it. It's really good from what I remember. Yeah, it was in this weird time when it was hard to find copies of it, so I've only seen like the first 8 episodes, and I never went back to watch it. But it was really good from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really blame you. It's like, what, 100 episodes? And as much as I really recommend this show to anyone,
100 plus now with sequels, yeah.
Yeah, you should totally, like, I think it's absolutely something you should watch. But at the same time, it's like when people go, well, I mean, but it's so long. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. It's a commitment, but like, still though, I definitely recommend it's like if you at some point manage to find time, even if it's just like an episode a day or an episode a week, it's like you should totally try to go through it. It is amazing.
Is the old one on Crunchyroll now, or is it on
the sequels are on Crunchyroll. The original, I think, is still without a license and hard to find. But with the recent revelation of High Dive, like picking up a lot of old licenses and putting on their site, I fingers crossed for the original. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be great, especially because it also has a dub, if I'm not mistaken. So that does help High Dive with their decisions to license older stuff.
Yeah. And the last one I have here is Prince of Tennis from 2001.
The one that no one's heard of.
Oh yeah, no one's ever heard of Prince of Tennis.
Princess Tennis.
Princess Tennis.
Princess Tennis, yes.
Yeah, Prince of Tennis. I have the occasional shonen update, and I went over like a whole arc of Prince of Tennis. I'm still watching it to this day, going through it on that. It's definitely another hype factor type anime, and kind of was a changing of the guard for a lot of, like, between Ippo and Prince of Tennis and what they did at the time for anime wise. There were manga that came out prior, which we'll get to later in the show. Whistle comes to mind. Right, Andrew?
Yeah.
But yeah, like those two anime definitely, I think, paved the way for what we see modern sports anime as.
I would definitely say Prince of Tennis, in a lot of ways, paved the modern. I would say it may be like 15 years later now, but it's definitely a lot of what you see now in sports anime with the whole fan servicey bits.
But whether it's tropes or I think it set the formula.
The best one, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just as an interesting side note, there recently dropped a PV for the new Prince of Tennis OVA. So,
oh damn! More Prince of Tennis. God,
dude, you have no idea. There are a billion stage plays and musicals.
Oh yeah,
and it never went away.
The Prince of Tennis manga has been and still is to this day one of the most popular sports manga that in existence. It's like. And the funny thing is, if I'm not the dude who makes this, is like the dude who makes the manga. He is literally just like some rich dude who only wanted to make manga and all he wants to do is make this manga, and he's like still making it for some reason. It's like, I mean, it's popular, so I get why he's still making it, but it's like there's so many stories coming out now of mangaka's assistants. It's like, it's literally been like been across from like writing books and stuff, working as this guy's assistant because he has so many of them.
Crazy.
To make sure that it always comes out.
Crazy.
It must be nice being rich.
Yeah. Gotta love that rich privilege. Woo.
Ah. So, Andrew, Tori, would one of you like to take the modern sports anime I have written down here? You can feel free to add as you go.
Okay, cool. Sure, I'll do it. I haven't seen like half of these. So, I know what sport they're based on. Sheesh, give me a break.
Yeah, Major is totally American football.
Yeah. Oh, and here I thought it was an anime about that time. The army
Well, okay, Andrew. Andrew. Just give me a few seconds here. When I was making this list and I was looking up like top sports anime, just stupid ranking lists that people like putting together.
Yeah.
Really, really funny that none of the old ones really came up at all.
No shit.
It was always, yeah, no shit, right? Lists always go for the more modern stuff. But there was two in particular that were always on the lists, but they have bad ratings on Mal or Anime Planet or what have you, and like no one's watched them. And that was I think it was like Eye Shield 20,001 or whatever the frick it was called.
Just 21.
Yeah, I didn't remember the number, so I just 20XX. There we go. and some was it a soccer? It was one where it was an all women soccer team or tennis team that wanted to compete. It was an all women baseball team that wanted to go to the finals of the high school tournament. That was the other one that came up. But they like again usually bad
that one.
Yeah.
Well, the Eye Shield one, Eye Shield 21. I actually used it in some presentations in college.
Ooh,
Funny
I've
story.
seen half of it.
Oh, okay, you've seen more than me. I've seen like a third of it.
Yeah.
Because
Damn,
it gets long.
it is long.
Even that rugby one that came out, what was it, last year, All Out? That really bad sports anime, that came up on lists.
Talking about.
That came up on lists and Hajime no Ippo did not, for example. I'm like, come on, guys.
It's because people don't go back and look at anything pre-2000.
Crazy. It was
Why
crazy.
was
It was just crazy to see and how lost it seems this world is. But yeah, Andrew, go on.
All right, so I guess we'll go through. Do I have to go chronologically?
That would be the preference here.
Okay, fine. So the first one on the list is Major, the quintessential baseball anime that pretty much everyone and their mother has seen if they've seen a baseball anime.
I have not.
Recommend. Well, I guess you're not everyone and their mother.
You're right about that.
Tori, you're not my mom?
I am not.
Are you everyone?
What?
Someone.
You're someone.
So I was gonna say it follows Goro Taniguchi, but that's the director of Code Geass. But I think his name is Goro.
Ooh.
Yeah, Goro Honda follows Goro Honda in his quest to get to the major leagues, basically.
From elementary school all the way till he actually does get into the major leagues.
Yes.
So
Good
it's a
lords.
pretty extensive baseball story, and I think it's the one that covers the most ground out of a lot of these baseball ones.
It
which
does,
usually
it
focus to the
does.
school.
Yeah.
Then the next one we have is Big Windup, which I heard is more of the Fujoshi Beatty anime for baseball.
And that started another trend.
Yeah, because it follows the pitcher and the catcher and their relationship with one another in baseball games.
Oh,
Sure does.
They are pitcher and catcher. Nice.
Yeah, and
Who's the pitcher? Who's the catcher?
surprising twist: the catcher's the pitcher and the pitcher is the catcher. What? I don't know if you have any crazy notes on that you want to bring up, but for the most part, I didn't think it was that big. To be honest, I didn't know if I didn't think people considered it notable. To be honest, but I guess
underestimate the Fujoshi.
You underestimate the fan base.
I guess I do. This one I'm gonna do a little shout out to my good friend of BCom who was just recently on your podcast.
He sure was.
He definitely recommends Cross Game because it's an interesting look at baseball, and from what I understand is two kids, one a male, one female, which will also be a trope we will be discussing shortly, are playing baseball, and they're about as equally good, but when they get to middle school or high school, the girl can't play really because there is no girl baseball team, or she has to play softball, sorry,
How dare she?
Right.
because she's a woman.
Because she's female. Female can play baseball.
And she just wants to play baseball like her friend, and it deals with a lot of that. And BCom highly recommends it, from what I remember.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one to check out. Before that, though, oh sorry, if you guys have any thoughts on Cross Game.
No,
definitely
I would
watch
agree.
it.
I would agree with BCom for sure.
Yeah. Ice Shield came out in 2005. I would say it is somewhat notable, but more from a Western perspective. It was Japan's attempt at making football. Sorry, it was the NFL's attempt at making football a thing in Japan.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, it still got 145 episodes, but it
Good
didn't
God.
take. And I've seen half of it too, Tori. When I look at my anime list now, I actually have seen half of it too.
Okay, I'd say half. I've seen more than half. I've seen like 98 episodes.
Oh my
okay.
God, the both of you.
Okay, you win, Tori. Fine.
Yes.
But it's actually it takes the story of like a kid who's essentially bullied, but he doesn't realize he's being bullied, and so he learned to run fast by getting things for bullies, and it basically tells you that NFL is a collection of individual talents, and all of their individual talents will make them the best team ever eventually. Yep. And he's already good enough to be a pro, according to the North American arc when they go to the US.
And the quarterback is literally the devil.
Yeah, this anime. So it's okay. The next on the list is actually there's two that you can put here. So it's not on the list, but there's Night in the Area.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
That is a soccer anime. Oh, okay, that's probably why it doesn't show up on your list. So there's Night in the Area, but okay, so there's a few I actually want to talk about that are actually sports, soccer related. But
yeah, feel free.
So Night in the Area is nope. So first, I'm going to talk about Giant Killing.
Yes. Okay.
I'm aware of Giant Killing. Yeah.
So this isn't your quintessential sports anime. It actually follows a lot of an actual pro team in the Japanese soccer league, and it's a kind of not a bad team, but they're basically on this losing streak, and they bring in this coach, and it follows a lot of different perspectives, like the coach perspective, it follows the players, and it doesn't follow the typical sports anime tournament convention.
That is absolutely true, and I just need to point out very different from not one else. That's a different one. From Giant Killing to others. They have a manager that's actually doing his job. He's actually managing the team.
Yeah, it's funny how about when you focus on adults and their jobs that they're actually doing them.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
So that's what I want to call out. That came out in 2010. It's good. It's nothing great. The animation is not the best, but it's an interesting story and perspective that you don't normally get from sports anime, and I thought that was cool. And then we have Night in the Area, which is another. Oh, sorry. Was there any other thoughts on Giant Killing?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. So then we have Night in the Area. This one is dumb.
Great.
I'm surprised it hasn't shown up on a bunch of your lists.
Actually, it didn't show up any. This one didn't show up on any list that I saw.
Oh, that's it.
Probably
wow.
It's not being watched.
So,
well, I take that back. It might have shown up on a Anime Planet list. Now that I think of it,
okay,
off my memory, but just one.
So I'll tell you the plot of the first episode. Basically, the main character is the team manager. He's a male team manager. What?
What?
His brother plays soccer, and because of events...
Next thing you're going to tell me is that a female is going to play one of these sports here.
No. She becomes the manager.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
So his brother calls him into a game, and at the end of that first episode, you find out that that was the last time they will ever play together, because in the next episode, his brother is murdered by a truck. So...
Yes!
Yeah, and then he gets his brother's heart in a transplant because they were both in a car accident, and like
God
some
damn.
steel beams. Steel beam pierced his heart, and his brother died. So they gave him his brother's heart. And
wait, if it pierced the heart, then how would the heart be any good?
No. The brother's heart is fine. The main character's heart got pierced. It still doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
No, just wait. Because of his brother's heart, he is now a soccer prodigy.
Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away.
Oh my god, that's so weird.
It is.
That is the best. That is okay. So what? Basically, if I want to be good at football, I need to murder somebody who's really good at football and take their heart.
So, okay, all right, Tori. I got a plan. We're gonna go to LA. We're gonna kill Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
No. I want to take somebody who's better right now. Go kill
Messi?
Neymar or something.
Go kill Neymar. Okay.
Ronaldinho?
Well, that guy's retired.
Ronaldinho's retired. That doesn't mean their heart's no good, though.
Is it Ronaldo
I don't know,
then?
man. Sure.
Cristiano Ronaldo? Well, yeah, sure.
The Brazilian Ronaldo also retired a long time ago. He's pretty fat now.
I like this idea. All right.
I saw him recently.
Did you?
Yeah. I said, like I told you, we had there was a charity match, the Norway 1990
Oh, yeah.
versus Brazil 1990. He was their manager
There you go.
because he couldn't play because he's too fat.
All right, Andrew, continue.
Another. No, I'm not going to say this one because it's soccer. I'm going to move on. So the next one, I don't even know why it's on this list because I've heard it's not good.
What?
It's TQ. That's the basketball one with volleys?
Tori, do you want to take over on why this needs to be on the list?
Listen here, okay. TQ is it's like a 9-season long, 2-minute an episode short about this tennis club, right? There's this group of girls, and they, as you would expect from this show, never play tennis because fuck that. That's not what this is about. This is this is a referential comedy. However, it does have a single episode, 2-minute episode in season 3, I think it is, where they literally have to play another team, and they don't show any of that. They show them preparing, but they fuck the match. Who cares about the match? they cut to them when they're done, and it's like, well, that was a good experience. What happened, you might ask? Well, obviously they lost, but you don't need to know that.
This is definitely a callback to a past podcast episode where I watched the first season of TQ. Yep. And Tori, you were watching it all at the time as well.
Oh, I was speeding through that thing.
Andrew, we are not serious about this in any way.
It is. I like it though. I actually like it, but it is not because it's a sports anime. They even have
face right now.
This was definitely trolling. This is definitely trolling.
Hey man, they even have references to Ashtano Joe.
Like every other anime out there.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Any excuse to talk about TQ with Tori.
Oh, dude. Speaking of which, stay tuned for that ending.
Okay. Oh, but on a side note, the YouTube stream went down.
Yeah,
no, I'm aware. It's not working anymore.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Let me pull back up the list because I was laughing so hard looking at this TQ garbage. I mean TQ.
Fantastic show. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, buddy. Free.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Actually, fantastic show.
No, man, it's too gay.
Also, it's too gay. Wow, tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, seriously.
Hey, I mean, am I wrong? Men not wearing a shirt want to get wet together? If this isn't gay, I don't know what is.
Are you telling me Baki the Grappler is gay then?
I have never seen Baki the Grappler, and it probably is.
Are you telling me Hajime no Ippo is gay then?
It is very gay. You see their penis and everything.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. But
I've wanted to try and go out of my way and watch Free down the line. I think after I go on like a romance anime binge, because on our last episode we talked a lot about romance anime, I'm gonna go on a sports anime binge, but that's like a commitment in itself.
Oh god, yes.
Watching one sports anime is a commitment.
I mean, I was gonna say you're lucky with Free, but it's really 2 13-episode seasons and a few movies and a 3rd season coming out this summer. But it's a swimming anime, and it actually handles the swimming part pretty well. Notably, it's done by Kyoto Animation, so it looks pretty as fuck. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And yes, it was made because they made a tech demo to show how good they can animate water, but everyone was just so focused on the pretty boys that they said, you have to make this an anime. And then they're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said,
here's all your boy butts.
And you say that, okay, so one of the things I'll mention about the shows, this is where I think it's cemented in my mind that Kyoto Animation is actually one of the best fan service studios out there in a lot of ways, because hey, I hear that groan. But what do you think about it? They have produced fan service for so many different types of people effectively that you gotta go.
No. They produce fan service for their own fans, which is fine. But like,
no, I'm saying the free fan service and free is actually what. And I talked to actual women, guys. So actually,
what are women?
I know, it's crazy. They're not allowed to play sports, that's for sure.
So basically, what you're saying is their opinion regarding this is relevant.
This is what anime has taught me, apparently. So no, but they're like the things that the anime focuses on in terms of like to appeal to women is actually the things that women care to look at. I've been told.
Abs for days.
No, actually,
getting wet.
No, it's actually not the abs. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, it's all about the ass, don't you? Don't you know? Don't you know?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, yeah. All right, moving on. We all know how you feel about Free. I think it's also a pretty well done show in general in terms of characters.
Just as a reference, I haven't seen Free.
I
I'm only making fun of it because
it sounded like it. If you actually watch it, you'll see how good it is.
Well, the more we talk about like the rest of these anime on the list, the more like the boys having gay butt sex is a fantasy becomes more and more real.
And
and it becomes the most real at the end.
Well, for sure.
It culminates with the end of this list. All right, so next one, Yowamushi Pedal. I haven't seen this. It's about an otaku who used to bike to Akiba a lot, apparently. Is that what it is? Who joins a cycling team?
Yeah. So
cycling.
Yeah, exactly. Yo Pedal is pretty hype. It's about bike boys. A competitive bicycle club. Well, they really emphasize that it's a club to a point in a lot of these sports anime, which we'll get to in more conversation for later. But yeah, you're exactly right, Andrew. It's about an otaku who goes out of his way to bike like 2 hours to Akiba and 2 hours back, or whatever it is, and he has really strong leg muscles and just has a natural talent. He joins the bicycle team and learns the whole concept of joining a team, being a part of it, and the competitiveness behind competitive biking. So I would personally prefer something more along the lines of like a Tour de France type thing, but this does a great job in how it handles a lot of just getting you hyped for a bike race, which I was quite surprised with. I had a friend who doesn't really like anime all that much. He finds the occasional one, and he was really into Yowamushi Pedal. But he's also gay, so that kind of goes with it.
I knew it. Oh, I love it.
Interesting. Anything else you guys want to say about Yowamushi Pedal? I haven't seen it.
In the later seasons, it's definitely focusing a lot on a lot of the other characters, not so much the main character anymore. So it kind of I think this also set a tone for straying away, like being able to tell a sports anime story that doesn't just focus on one character.
I'm being gay. Yeah.
And being gay.
I meant to watch this when the first season started airing. And I was like, I didn't really hear about it until like after starting. I'm like, yeah, sure, cool, I'll start this. I like sports animes. It's fine. And then, kind of the years have gone by and I'm sitting here now and like, all right, yeah, that thing.
Oh yeah, that thing.
I wanted to watch that at some point. I don't know about now though. It's kind of long.
I love how JD has put in a lot of these sort of pseudo sports in here. There's at least one in in both of these lists he's given. Well, the next one we're talking about.
I'm appeasing the fans.
Just go. Just saying.
Oh, okay. I thought you. Sorry, it's Chihaya Yafaru. This is also another one of BCom's. Actually, it's probably his favorite anime.
Oh god, he is
So-
obsessed with it. Nerdum and other
Yes.
Nerdum and other nonsense podcast shout out for sure.
Because with season 3 coming up, he is going to be even more raving crazy about people watching this show. So
Still
it's
need to watch season 2.
yeah, I have to watch season 1 on actually. Period. It follows the sport of karuta, or the activity of karuta, which is the
Karuta.
slapping the card away as a poem is starting to be read. So it does bring a lot of reaction and hardcore memorization.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, people sit on either side. A poem is starting to be read by the poem reader, and then you have to like grab the card or slap away the card for the completion of that poem or haiku or whatever it is.
Yeah. This like, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of conflicting feelings with Chihaya Afaru, whether whether it's actually a sports anime or it's a game or even a club anime. Why not? It can't be a little of all three.
It is a club anime. They literally
Oh,
start
for
a
sure.
club.
It also and then the other thing, it also suffers from a lot of tropes and what elements to expect from even a club or a sports anime. So we'll definitely get into that a little bit later. But yeah, like, people love this show, and I totally see why.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And like Tori, I need to see season 2 as well.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand people that want to put the argument that it is a sports anime, because a couple days ago I was bored. For some reason I decided to just sit down and watch like a Queen game of Karuta, which is when they decide a new champion. I just decided to go down. I think I was waiting for something, so I was just like, I had nothing to do. I watched a little bit of it, and I mean, even watching them in real life, god damn, they have some reaction speeds.
It's crazy.
Really fast.
All right, well, moving on.
All right, next up on that list is Ace of Diamond. Baseball. I haven't seen it either. But yeah, it's a baseball anime about a middle school baseball team. And I don't know what to say about this anime. I actually haven't.
See, I'm starting to notice a trend here. It seems like Japan really likes baseball.
Yeah, weird, right?
No. But
Yeah.
is there anything you guys want to say about Ace of Diamond? I haven't honestly never seen it. I haven't really heard people talk about it all that much, to be honest. Even though it has a pretty high score on Mal.
Oh yeah,
I hear about it every once in a while, but I want to watch it at some point. But
It's kind of like a more low key and centralized major. I would compare it to.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I get that impression from the cover or the poster.
Yeah, absolutely. It has the same sort of goals in mind, except major focuses on the journey of Goro Honda. This is more like the team. This is kind of like more in the line of Yomushi Pedal or some other anime that we'll be talking about, where it's the team's journey getting to the tournament finals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes sense. All right, so let's talk about one of the biggest sports anime in the last 5 years, Haikyuu. It's a volleyball anime. It is hype as fuck, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So it follows this short guy who wants to play volleyball because he saw a short guy play volleyball really well back when he was a kid, and he goes to that high school and he meets up with his rival, who has to be his partner. And they go and they play volleyball a lot, and it's great. And it's also one of those, in a funny way, more of those ensemble kind of sports casts, but because there's so many pretty boys and you have to give them all a little bit of screen time.
Right.
I like that though. I like that they at least gave them the fucking time of day.
Yeah, not just the main team, the opposing teams as well.
Everyone. It definitely takes that a lot, in my opinion, from other other sports anime, like what you would see in something like Ashtana Joe and what Ippo Barfra as well, where it's like it wants to build up not just your main characters and not just like the sport itself, but it really wants to make the matches count, and not just simply because it's elimination, but because it's like, you should know who these people they're facing are.
Right.
the most important members of their team.
I would like to add that when I was thinking about it, Haikyuu feels like an evolution from where Whistle actually is in a lot of ways. Because I know we'll get to that when we get to the actual main review, but I feel Whistle, and then you got a lot of things that happen in IQ. When I was watching Whistle, I'm like, oh, I remember feeling the same kind of hype, or the characters are kind of explored in a way that Haikyuu explores them, but Haikyuu explores them a little bit more fleshed out because it has come out later and it does benefit from a few more modern writing techniques. But when I was thinking about it, it's like, hey, they're kind of, it's like Haikyuu feels like it came from Whistle a little bit. But that's
well, a lot of these more modern ones, like Whistle, Prince of Tennis, the Ippo technique, the Joe story techniques. It's almost like it's taking a lot of the more popular and centralized elements from animes of its past. Shocking, right? Yeah.
Le gasp.
Le gasp.
So JD, what are your thoughts on Haikyuu?
I haven't seen it yet, actually.
This guy.
Yeah, I know it's hype as fuck from what everyone says.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Another actual hype as fuck anime, which you would not expect, is Ping Pong the Animation.
Clearly the worst one ever made. Clearly.
Yeah.
Nobody likes this one.
This one is done by your boy, Tori Yuasa Masaki.
Yeah!
Or Masaki Yuasa. No, sorry, Masaki Yuasa. Oh god,
I mean,
get so
you
much
said
trouble.
what? Because you said it the Japanese way.
Yes.
Yuasa.
I will say I just got this on Blu-ray like maybe a few weeks ago for $10, so I probably just wasted $10. Am I right?
Oh god, yes.
Honestly, I'm jealous. Like,
you're jealous of my $10 wasted?
Yeah. I wish I could waste $10 on this.
Yeah. No, this anime is really good, and it follows. I guess you could say sort of like three main characters, two of which are on like the same team and one that's on an opposing team, and they're all their journeys and struggles to play ping pong.
What an odd sport to focus on too.
It is.
But I mean, that's exactly why I like it, because I mean, you say it's an odd sport to focus. I would argue that it isn't actually focusing on ping pong at all. Like, ping pong is the sport that is present in the anime, but it is absolutely not the focus of the story. The characters are the focus of the story.
Right.
Their lives, what they're dealing with. The sport is just the sport. Like, ping pong is simply used as the thing that brings these people together. The reason why they meet each other. The reason why they learn about each other. The reason why you get to see these people.
Funny how it came out the same year as Haikyuu in 2014.
Yeah. And no one saw it.
No, you say that, it still got dubbed by Funimation.
Yeah, I know. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Like, it's the same thing. Like, I fucking recently heard that they aired like Mind Game on Toonami, which is another Yuasa show, and I'm like, or movie, and I'm like, what the hell?
And they just put it on. I think it's very much because of Devilman Crybaby. They're going back and putting on a lot of his older work now, so it means Ping Pong might actually get some time of day in love now.
I mean, I'm happy. I love Yuasa. He's fucking amazing.
There you go. Well, what's our last one here as we round out our notables?
Oh, I just want to say one last point. Oh, I was going to say before that, what Ping Pong does is that, like any good character piece will do, is that it doesn't make everything else superfluous. So I know you say Ping Pong isn't the focus. I would say it's very much as focused on as the characters, because it is so integral to the characters.
Sure. Did you say ass focused by any chance?
I did say ass focused.
Big of ass. Yeah, we are nice, guys.
But
yeah, we are nice. The anime of the year.
As I am on Ping Pong. Yes, you're on ice.
Anime of the year 2016 and 17 and 18 and every year.
God damn it.
God, yes. No, I mean, I'll admit it's not. It's a good anime, but I don't know if it needed to win that many awards.
I mean, I had fun watching it. I was interested in the anime for sure.
This is one of those shows for me where it's like I'm kind of annoyed because yes, I don't hate this show. I think it's fine. I really like. I mean, it's also with the product of director Sayo Yamamoto. I really like her work. She made the woman called Fujiko Mine. I fucking love that. But I'm still sitting there like, because of all the love, I feel like I have to be negative on it because it's like it's not that good.
It's not that
It really isn't that good. But it's like the same. No, but it's so progressive and it has gay characters. And it's like, yeah, but that's exactly it. You like it because it has gay characters.
I mean,
Tori's groaning.
I would say I like it because that soundtrack is fucking the great.
I really like the music involved in the anime. Whether the gay characters bother you or not, I don't give a shit what you think on that. It was fun.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
definitely.
care. I don't care that they're gay. I'm annoyed that kind of becomes like I'm annoyed that it becomes a point of praise that they're gay. It's like, does it really matter?
Yeah.
Well, it
So,
shouldn't matter. That's the other thing.
So my issue with the show primarily is that after the first few episodes, it's literally the same 2 episodes over and over again with different characters.
Yeah, kind
It's
of.
sports anime.
It's a sports anime.
So that's my only issue. I mean, I like some of the characters, but also some of those characters are just kind of dumb, and I don't know why we wasted time focusing on them. But I will always give a shout out to my boy King JJ,
Damn right, JJ's number 1.
which, funny enough, I say is supposed to be an American, but for some reason they made him a Canadian because he has all the mannerisms of an American.
Yeah, but he's the best. It's JJ time, guys.
King JJ. So yes, no, You're on Ice is a lot of fun. It's definitely a fun watch, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. And yes, guys, they totally kissed. No, doesn't matter what the director says. It's obvious that they totally kissed. Just saying.
Death of the director. Death of the author. Now it's death of the director.
All right, so I wrote down some tropes and elements to expect in sports anime, or just what's become synonymous with them. As I go down them, do you have anything to add or comments to make? Feel free.
Yep.
In a school club, rather than playing for an actual quote-unquote team.
I think that's just the Japanese school system and how they view things. I think they take it from a more European thing where
agree.
everything is kind of like, their football clubs or baseball clubs. They're still the team, but I think team is more of our Western concept of it.
Yeah.
Well, they do have to actually fill out club forms. A team isn't just going to be at the school. You have to make one.
Yeah, but that is, again, that's the Japanese school system in a nutshell. It is, it's the same thing for us here, right? Most of us would have started playing a sport when we were in school. It's just that for a lot of us, the sports team in school was separate. In Japan, it's not.
Yeah. That's their whole pride and honor thing of whatever they do. So
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
it's into that.
It's a cultural aspect, which is something you might need to understand when watching a sports anime, for sure.
Yeah. But I'll also add, but there are clear differences also than actual regular clubs in a lot of ways as well. So they're usually when they do something, and two, the rules are applied differently to a sports club than to a non-sports club.
Right. All right. No actual coach is present.
Well, they don't do anything, at least.
They all usually have laissez-faire attitudes.
Right.
I love the stereotypical, though. Like, you see it in Whistle as well, the fucking, coach. Like, so I could teach them something and put them on the right track, but how about I just let them figure it out? It's like, yeah, because why would you ever do your job?
Basically.
Yeah, there's maybe one school that has an actual coach, but even then, he's just kind of there.
Yeah.
But JD, how are we supposed to know that the genius player is really a genius player if he's not there to coach the team as well?
Oh my god.
Good point.
All events lead to a tournament elimination arc. There's no actual season. That's a very much Eastern concept as opposed to the West as well, I feel.
That's the school system in play again.
Yeah.
Regional tournaments.
Which is why I like some anime like Baby Steps, which we did mention. It's a tennis anime, but that follows an actual, not a school tennis club, but an actual tennis club, and so they go to just multiple tournaments, which are single elimination, but it feels like they're just a tennis season where they have to enter a bunch of tournaments.
Well, yeah, so does Prince of Tennis. They do that as well.
So
Isn't tennis in general elimination, though?
Well, I mean, so I was on the tennis team in junior high and high school, and it's an interesting way they go about things. So there is a season, there are tournaments you go to, and when you go to these things, you have your doubles events and singles events, and you accumulate points as a team based on wins.
Okay.
So that, I mean, tennis is very, very much different in that. While I was also on the basketball team, you play a number of games, and based on how many games you win, then you can go to the tournament, which is a knockout round. In sports anime, it's usually just the knockout round. You don't have an actual like season to play, or they at least don't show it. It's a slew of friendlies, mostly, which we
practice matches.
Your practice matches, yeah, that they take way too seriously.
No, man, you can't lose just because it's a practice match. Doesn't mean that it's not win or lose.
Yeah. No girls allowed on the team. Only cheer, but play when an injury occurs or event occurs. Coincidentally enough, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
You know, women are bad at sports, obviously.
Or the woman is actually really good, or conveniently in place when you need her.
I love it. Those like, no, she's actually very good. But she's like female. Or in the case of Whistle, where it's just like we can't defend against her because she's female.
Oh, we'll get there, Tori. Hold your phone. Hold the phone.
That's a very much a Japanese male-dominated.
Oh god, problem. Yeah, we'll definitely get there. The boys look super hot and should bang his teammates.
That's more of a new thing.
But it's a thing. Parents are either dead or you never see them to support their children playing the sport.
Because this is Japan, and you're a disgrace to your family, and you need to know that.
Basically.
It's rare that the anime will actually go past their time in school playing the sport. Not saying that they don't exist, but it's rare. It's a rare occurrence.
There's a life after school?
No.
What?
Well, it tends to lead to that thing that you remember in 90s teen movies, that graduation was the culmination of your life, basically.
Right.
I mean, yeah. It's like Angel Beats. Even when you die, you're in school.
Oh no, Tori. Oh my god, you're right.
It's very Japanese.
It's Angel Beats, so it's pretty good.
It's so true. Oh
no, I love Angel Beats. It's great.
Even when you die, you're in school. You don't want to admit there's life after that. Oh, okay, I gotta calm down. Superpowers. Sports will have superpowers of kinds.
Excuse me, are you trying to say that fucking the Shocking Cup and Tsubasa superpower that everyone doesn't have?
Oh, God. No, the eagle came down and attacked him as he was doing the bicycle kick that he saw once.
Exactly.
And practiced, like, for a day. Anyways. Yeah, Kuroko no Basuke is what comes to mind for, like...
Oh, yeah.
You have everyone's technique, might as well be a superpower. You also see it in, like, Yomushi Pedal with characters unlocking their chi or whatever the fuck it is.
Welcome to the Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, team or main character will lose the first time and then never lose again unless it's the finals, maybe. Did you get all that?
It's not, well, yeah, the first tournament. It depends on the show, though. That's something I think that happens a lot in a lot of, I guess, anime, but I know there's some where it doesn't happen at all. I think Captain Tsubasa is one where they kind of don't ever lose.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of thing, right? They either never lose or they always lose, because like that's kind of how the rival is established in a lot of things. The first time they meet, that other guy was like really good.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we lost against him. How was this possible? It's like, well,
yeah, and then the rest of the anime is them working up to beat them in the end or what have you.
I just wanted to know as well, especially because you haven't seen Haikyuu. That's kind of what I like, because for Haikyuu, the main character Hinata's his like was said, his rival, they end up on the same team. Now, granted, the other guy, he does have his own rival, and they do, you can sort of surmise what's going on. But again, I kind of like that, because it follows the stereotypical tropes, but it also subverts them by putting them in a different, like, it doesn't come at the time you expect it to come. Well, later.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is a lot of these tropes we're naming here doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing either.
No,
it's just things you see all the time.
Yeah, it depends on how it's handled. Like,
yeah, like in Ashita no Joe, you see Joe get the shit kicked out of him against Rikishi right away, but that becomes his main motivation going forward. And that's and the way it's told and the journey is good.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I wouldn't. I mean, yes, for the show, right? You can kind of say right away, but I wouldn't say right away. It takes a while.
I would say it's equivalent to, you know how in Western sports there's like a season, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just and then the playoffs. Just because of how Japan is, there isn't
maybe in your country.
Okay. Because of how that is, here they would usually establish that they face off against them in the season, they get destroyed by them, and then that's their goal to beat in the playoffs when that happens later on. But I guess because there's a summer tournament and a winter tournament or a spring tournament and a fall tournament or whatever it is, depending on the sport,
right?
They usually have to lose in that season. So that
well, it was interesting. Like when I played basketball in Germany, it was a season, but the way the sports work in Germany is you're in a club outside. Like it's not part of school in any way. You join the club and you just have a full season, no playoffs at all. But you play each team twice. You play once home, one away. So if you lose the first game, you're damn right you want to beat them the second time at the very least.
Guys, you're forgetting something very important. This is the last time the senpais will play.
Oh right, yeah.
The tournament is the senpais last.
Yeah, no matter the situation, you can only let the people graduating play. And they're automatically better than everyone else for whatever reason. I should have marked that down too.
Yep.
Okay, where was I? Oh, taller, more handsome, and extremely naturally talented rival.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just life, man.
That is just life, isn't it?
It's all too real, my friend.
I can't tell you how many times I've been bowling against someone like that dude is incredibly handsome. I'm short, he's tall, clearly my rival.
You're distracted because you're just looking at that. He's better than me and he's more handsome. Like, damn.
Oh, God. Main character sucks at the sport, including possibly never played before.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of that, people love a good underdog story, so that's kind of where that comes from. It's like, oh, cool. Somebody shows that, effort can get you somewhere.
Yeah, that's part of it. Main theme is effort versus talent.
Yep.
Yeah. Main character has one secret technique that no other character has, be it physical trait or desire to win.
Lightning pass.
Right. The ability to teleport, apparently. That's common.
Yeah. I love how they describe it, though. No, you see, he's ducking out of their field of vision. Who the fuck has a cone vision that literally doesn't stretch anywhere except for right forward?
No. It's a blind spot. They do exist.
They do exist, but they don't exist. It's not like I'm standing in front of you and then I duck down and all of a sudden I can't see you anymore. My vision is.
I love how we're referencing Whistle as we go through the tropes.
Well, that's not just Whistle.
No, it's not either. It's also in like Kuroko and Prince of Tennis and alright, anyways, move. Always conveniently runs into the next opponent they are going to face and gets to know them.
Yeah. I like that though. I will never want to get rid of that. That is nice.
I don't know. It wears on me. Like you'll see the characters shopping, and they'll just run into them.
No man, I need to know who they're facing off against. That is because otherwise, if we're gonna do the goddamn Ashtano Joe, sorry, not the Ashtano Joe, the Megalobox thing of the early fight, where it's literally like, oh, this guy, he's a bad dude. Yeah, beat him. That's like, fuck you. I don't care.
I don't know. Like Kuroko no Basket comes to mind and how it handles it, where they literally go to the tournament and scout the other team, and that's how they see them and develop. The inevitable always team that wants to break the rules. They see it firsthand. Yeah, that's all you need to know about that team, and maybe a member of that team's also an asshole. That always happens.
Tends to be, yeah.
Yeah.
That guy who tries to beat up everyone.
Right. A foreigner will. The last one I have here before we go into elements is a foreigner will often join the team later as an exchange student conveniently.
Because he's good, man. Or in terms of, again, just to bring up Kuroko no Basket, the fucking captain of the team who comes back. Like, oh, did everyone forget about this guy?
Right?
Like, oh no, we suck. And it's like, actually, though, we have this captain. He's been injured for a long time. He's really good. It's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
You couldn't have mentioned that before?
No, that would make it easy.
Right, alright. So, elements from a sport anime to expect. the genre tends to focus on more character-driven stories with a ton of drama involved. That's more or less what today is, but it also creates like the tension from even in the retro anime perspective, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. Romance playing a heavier role into more retro sports anime. I kind of wish they would touch on the personal life more with anime these days, at least sports-wise.
That would be nice, actually. But I don't know if that was as popular as people. I think it was popular for a time, but I think people are kind of over it in a bit.
Yeah, like even like what comes to mind is imagine a character gets a girlfriend, and it's a baseball anime, and he's the pitcher, and his girlfriend's like breaking up with him, and it affects his mental game. I would like to see something like that happen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does in cross game now that I think of it, but maybe not to the extent I wanted to feel.
Probably not.
I need to rewatch that anime. That's anyways. A good sports anime will make the viewer think it isn't that predictable or boring at all. So, what I mean by this is they're in a tournament and you predict or / expect them to make it to the finals. And without losing, no matter how close the game is, you expect them to win. What makes it good is, despite that prediction, you still have that inkling in the back of your mind, like, well, what if they don't win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I would also say something Whistle does very well.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there. Modern anime tends to add slice of life elements for a deeper character focus as opposed to the game itself. What I mean by is like a slice of life backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Haikyuu comes to mind. Any thoughts?
I think, well, it's just natural that they try to do a little bit more fun stuff just because that's what people want to see a bit more of. I don't know if Haikyuu really focuses on their slice of life as much. I think it just has a lot more character moments, and I would say, but then again, I guess it depends on how you just find slice of life.
Yeah, that's true. All right. The journey to the top, tournament arcs and what have you.
Aim for the top.
Another Gunbuster reference. One of our more popular podcast episodes. That's a callback. You must suspend your disbelief based on skill shown in the anime. Now, this is heavy, and I put this down there because sometimes I have a real hard time suspending my disbelief in the skill shown because I've also played a lot of the sports as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like Kuroko no Basket, or even Kuroko no Basket with the superpowers. I'm like, oh my god, sometimes it just gets so ridiculous, then I start losing that suspension of disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also plays into how much based in reality the show wants to be. So, let's see if I can think of an example. I
mean, a lot of soccer anime in general, right? So like something like Captain Tsubasa, it's fairly grounded while at the same time being a little bit slightly fantastical.
Yeah, and man, it's really hard to describe like where the line gets drawn in that sense. Man, I'm so torn on it because if it ever crosses that line, then the sports anime loses a lot of its prestige, and Kuroko definitely suffered, at least from my perspective on it. And that has, again, a lot to do just because I'm so familiar with basketball.
I think Kuroko is a good example. I mean, I don't think you hate the anime. I like the anime.
No, I still like the anime. It just wouldn't be, let's call it 10 out of 10 because of my suspension of disbelief. Just getting the level just gets raised too much at one point.
Yeah.
Like Battle Shonen also suffers from that. Like, what point do the powers become so fantastically ridiculous that you start to just not believe in it anymore?
When they're all gods.
Yeah, when you start having Goku like being able to break a universe, while the series starts out with him not even knowing how to fly. That's an example.
Yeah.
Like, where does the line just start to get too ridiculous?
I guess it depends on how long it takes to get there.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I mean, for me, it's always just what does the anime establish itself as? Like, for example, for Kuroko, in their respect, the superpowers and the level of them, they're established pretty quickly. And then it's just like, what kind of superpower do you have? So that sort of thing is like, it doesn't bother me there because, like, yeah, no, sure, they have superpowers, but I mean, that was established fairly early on that they did. So it's like, if you don't like that, then you're looking for something that your problem simply is that you don't like that they have superpowers.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it's that. I would say, like, with Kuroko, I think them having superpowers is established, but then the fact that the zone exists all of a sudden now, comes out of nowhere, kind of just goes, really?
See, again, I disagree because the zone is a thing, not in the sense that like that Kuroko displays it, but you know, it happens in sports as well. You know, it's literally when people get in the zone, or you know, when you're in form, being in form versus being out of form. It's like,
Oh, I get that in bowling all the time.
form, yeah, like I watch a lot of football. It's like you can see the difference between a player in form and out of form is extreme. It's like all of a sudden he can pull off insane stuff that no one can, versus when he's out of form, he can literally miss an open goal from like 2 meters. It's insane.
Yeah. The last one I have written here is often rules and or injuries are ignored outright for the sake of pride based on Japanese culture and the show itself.
Mm-hmm.
This is another irritation of mine in sports anime. Major comes to mind immediately. For example, there's an instance where the main character injures his ankle, and like the umpires are say, "Hey, you can't play anymore," or the coach will look at him and be like, "Well, I'm gonna, pull you if anything happens," and then it just never happens. They're like, "What?" And he goes, "Well, I still want to play." Okay, you convinced me. Or even how one season starts where he literally breaks his shoulder from the stubbornness of not wanting. Like, where are the coaches or the parents saying, like, no, you fucking listen to me, otherwise you're going to ruin yourself for life. But no, this one game is what matters, not the rest of my sports career. Or the team that cheats and they all of a sudden the refs don't see anything coincidentally.
That is funny though to me whenever they do that. It's like, I mean, again, it depends. You have certain things where it's just like you're sitting just like, so like you're blatantly, fucking, again, in terms of whistle, you just kicked them in the back with your studs. What the fuck's the ref doing? It's not like that is hard to see, but all right, I guess, right? But then you have like, the places where I find it funny, like in Kuroko, where it's just like, no, you see, we only step on you or hit you whenever there's a player walking in between the line of vision of the ref. I'm just like, I mean, that's a reason at least why they don't see it. It's not a believable one in any but, at least you tried.
At least you did a little bit.
Yeah. So, what are the elements I named are just sort of things that I've come to expect in sports anime, and a couple things that just kind of irritate me, my negatives on a sports anime. What about you guys? Anything you want to add there?
I feel like that's a lot. You covered a lot of what you should expect from a sports anime for the most part, and what tropes we find in it. I think it is a pretty good covering of that. I try to think of things. I mean, the fantastical thing I just always loved in sports anime, in a lot of ways.
Kind of same. It's like, I don't know. It's to me, it's like that's kind of also why I always compare. Like, I mean, because they should be, but compared to like shonen, battle shonens and whatnot. Because obviously they take a lot of elements from it, but it's a lot of the same thing. It's like making a quote-unquote realistic sports anime isn't necessarily the most fun. Yeah, sure, it's more realistic, but you're also expecting a baseline of entertainment,
right?
So yeah, I get it. Like the line isn't the same for everyone. Something is too much for something, but for someone, while it might be too little for someone else. But still, I always like a bit of why I like Kuroko no Basket so much. I love the silly powers. I love Thor's hammer. I love that stuff. I love Meteor Dome.
I do like how there's always techniques yelled out for all of these. I mean, I would love in when I go bowling on Tuesday and Wednesday nights or to tournaments, and I just go, you know what? This calls for more. This calls for my universe spin technique.
And then you run down, you scream, universe spin.
as I'm throwing the ball, universe spin.
You just hear everyone who's going on the lines. You just hear a bunch of balls fall into the gutter. It's like,
How do you pick up the 710? Well, this is called my double vision technique.
What was I forgot what anime it was, but I think they made a parody of that where someone was just calling out regular things like punch, punch, straight jab, kick. It's like, why those aren't special move names.
That sounds like something anime would do. They do that a lot with like parodies and whatnot.
Oh god. Well, there's a wrestler who's in the indie scene in America, and he goes in Japan. He's called No. His name's Marty Skrull, and what he'll actually do sometimes is yell out what he's gonna do. He's like, super kick, and the guy will like throw up his arms into his face, and then he laughs at him and points at the fans, and then he'll just kick his knee out instead.
At least it's not the Nico knee.
Oh god, yeah. There's an actual wrestler right now where he's a Love Live fan, and yeah.
Is that where that comes from?
That's exactly where it comes from. Yeah, I don't want to get into that personally.
All right. On a side note, I might have to stop recording so I can export this because I'm hitting 2 hours and I'm afraid it might crash Audacity.
Okay, we can take a break. That's fine.
All right. I just want to export the audio, but let's finish up before the
sure.
A little bit here.
Okay, so to finish up, I would like to know each of you guys' 3 favorite sports anime today, and then 3 sports anime, if you have 3, that you haven't seen that are at the top of your list. Who wants to go first?
All right. Since I'm totally not prepared at all. So my 3 favorite, if you haven't figured it out, one is Whistle.
Okay.
I do enjoy that one a whole bunch. My second one would be, this is going to be a bit of a cheat, but Gundam Build Fighters. It's one of those pseudo sports anime.
Yeah, the semantics kind, you might say.
Yeah, the semantics kind, definitely. And the third one, that's tough, man. I'll probably put Haikyuu definitely up there as one of my favorite animes, sports animes, just because I think it hits so many of the right buttons. And consistently, and it's just fantastical enough while still being grounded.
Tori?
Yeah. It's kind of hard. I have like 5 sports anime that is like I consider at the top. But...
Whoa! I only said 3. Don't get crazy now.
No, I know. I'm only gonna say 3. But like,
if he gets to say 5, I want an honorable.
No. I'm only gonna say 3. What I want to say is just what answer you will get from me could very much depend on the day. However, my 3 favorites would be Hajime no Ippo, Ashita no Joe, and Kuroko no Basuke.
I'll start with B, I see.
Well, Kuroko starts...
No, boxing, basketball.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was confused. I was like, Hajime no Ippo, Ashita no... What?
I was curious there for a second. I was like... Basket. Oh.
You make no sense, JD. God.
And what about 3 you haven't seen that are at the top of your list for both of you guys?
No, you say yours, and then we'll get back to that.
Oh, okay. Ashita no Joe for sure. I would say Prince of Tennis and Aim for the Ace. Top of the list right now for me, I'll just go first, is Ping Pong the Animation.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Touch from 1985. And I might as well say Haikyuu because I haven't seen it yet and put that on the top.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to replace Gundam Build Fighters because it's a bit of a cheat, and I'm going to put in Keijo. Because he already said Ping Pong the Animation.
Vacuum butt cannon.
I mean, so first of all, when you talk about suspension of disbelief, you have to suspend disbelief for this entire show, and I love it.
Oh yeah, big
And
That
time.
is fantastic.
I mean, when you have such abilities like Ass of Vajra and Titty
Gate of
Hypnosis.
Booty Lawn.
No, it should be called Unlimited Butt Works, first of all.
No. Gate
Yes.
of Booty Lawn.
No, it's Unlimited Butt Works. It's Unlimited Butt
Gate
Works.
of Booty Lawn.
Tori, why are you so difficult?
Because I'm right.
You're wrong. It's Unlimited Butt Works. You're so wrong. Okay, so for ones I haven't seen yet, I think Cross Game is one that I know has been mentioned that I should really check out because it has a really good first episode at the very least. Slam Dunk, which is a bit of a cheat. I have seen a few random episodes, but I haven't really watched it, so I would definitely put it on my list.
Yeah, I went 3 anime I haven't seen at all, any of.
And I mean, because most of them I'm just not super into. So, but yeah, I would say Slam Dunk because I really do want to actually watch that at some point. And when I say Slam Dunk, it's like Slam Dunk, Hajime no Post. Shows I've watched like 3 episodes of, I should really actually just go watch the show because I don't think I give it a fair shake. And then I think the third one would be, oh my god, that's a tough one. Tori, you go. I'll come back and I'll figure out my last one.
Okay. Well, so since you said Cross Game and Slam Dunk, I'm not going to mention those.
You can.
I know I can, but I don't wanna. So no, but like, come on, we can have different mention different shows that we haven't watched, so that people know. What I would like to watch is I would like to watch Major, and I would like to watch. Let's see. Yeah, I will aim for the ace, obviously, and a third one. Let's see here.
Oh my god! I just realized I just named 2 tennis ones in my top.
Yeah. And just for the hell of it, let's say I want to watch Ace Dime. I really want to watch some baseball anime. The only baseball anime I've really seen so far is like One Outs, which isn't really baseball; it's gambling. But they do play baseball. It's just that they gamble over baseball. It's pretty good though. It's very reminiscent of Kaiji, the Ultimate Survivor.
You know what? Ashita no Joe. That'll be my third one.
Ooh, I like that one. That's a good one for you, Andrew. I recommend it, you might say.
You might say it's in my top 3 favorites.
Mine too. All right. That was our conversation over sports anime. It went a little long, but hey, it was a lot of fun. We're gonna take a little break here, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the anime Whistle and review it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna stop my recording. I'm gonna export it. I'm just gonna say everything I'm doing now, guys.
I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna export it later.
For me, saving it takes way longer.
That is weird.
Well, I used Audacity.
I use Audacity as well. I'll be right back, guys.
Let's see here. Episode 26. Whistle. Part 1. Save. So that should take like 3 minutes.
Oh, really? It's going to take me like 17 seconds. If I was saving the project, it would have taken me like 20 minutes. I'll be right back, though.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right, still a minute left.
Oh no.
Nah, if I were to export this would take even longer now.
That's interesting. You don't use
15 minutes.
Audacity?
No, I do use Audacity.
Oh, you have an old computer. I mean, my computer's like 7 years old, but
I think your computer is older than mine then.
that's weird.
wait.
Then, but I bought mine to be
No, yes, it is.
lower, I guess higher middle end. I guess.
Yeah, mine is mine is like a 2015 low end PC.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I literally bought it because like
All right,
I
guys.
needed one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There is no all right. I'm still waiting.
Are you still just like recording, JD?
No.
No.
JD.
On the like complete video that I'm gonna upload to like YouTube later, yeah, I'm still recording on that. Just because
Oh my
it's gonna be a live stream pretty much, but that's all right.
Hearing my voice through the screen. Woo. I
Woo.
got nothing. Woo. Good times. All right. I'm here to fight you on episode 11 of Whistle, just to let you know.
All right, that's good
So
to
the
know.
11 in specific, huh?
Oh, yes. Oh, no, that's the episode JD is just like, blah. It's Japan. We shouldn't apply our Western ideals. No, I'm really not like that. I mean, I am, but I'm not.
All right, and then we close Audacity, and then we open up a new one just so that nothing fucky happens.
Basically what I just did.
Nothing
Yeah, no.
fucky happens.
Well, I don't want to fuck up and just be like, yeah, let's record again using here, and then I just save it and then it saves over the other one. I was like, oh, like Hickey did. I mean, what?
Right? Yeah, don't do that. Okay, well I'm ready if you guys are. Just let me know when.
Yeah, I guess I'm ready.
So actually, don't give me a minute. I have to read up something just happened.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna be able to record. I just need a minute to catch myself up on what just happened.
Sure.
No. Damn it.
What?
Yeah. No, I want to watch Darling and Franks.
Oh God, I still have to watch this week's episode, but I don't care anymore.
I am, dude. I fucking, in order to finish the show and like whistle for this podcast, I had to, and still be able to study for my fucking exam. I had to completely give up seasonal anime. So I am, well, I'm almost caught up now, but I was a week behind for the first time in years.
You should drop that show, Tori.
No, it's fucking fantastic. You shut your goddamn
Oh
mouth.
no! Please don't.
Can you believe this guy?
Oh.
Yeah, I
Like,
can believe Andrew. I'm right with it, right there with him.
I don't understand. I don't understand why I keep putting up.
Okay,
with
hold
it.
on. Why do you like this show so much? It's not good. It's not
What?
bad. It's not
Holy
good.
fucking
though.
shit! My God, I am in the goddamn minority here. It is
Yeah. No, you're not.
fantastic.
How? How is it fantastic?
Because the goddamn character building, the world building, the way they build conflict,
What?
everything about this.
What world building?
Hold on.
Oh, shut
What world
the
building?
fuck up.
What world building? What characters?
Oh,
The characters
the
are
world building.
garbage.
The characters are some of the best I've seen in anime in years.
I really wish I was
Okay.
putting this in the podcast.
Oh, I hate it. My God, you people are fucking
Tori.
terrible.
No.
Oh, you know what? No, I can't do podcasts. My God, everyone has terrible taste. Holy shit.
I don't get it. This guy just recommended a good anime called Flag, and then he's gonna. Oh, you know what? Never mind.
I know
I'm
it's
a guest.
Tor.
I'm
I
gonna
know.
be nice.
I know. It's so much Tor. It's so much to tear apart.
Jesus.
We're all
fucking
split.
Christ, you
It's a
guys.
split. It's such a split anime.
You guys have no taste. My God.
All right, we're ready to talk about this football anime here.
I don't know, man. I'm
Yeah.
I'm pretty put off right now. I'm pretty triggered.
now that I've pitted you two against each other.
Hold on a second. Let me drop my score for Whistle.
It's okay. I'll fight you.
Oh
No,
god.
I'm joking.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm gonna count down from 3, and then I'll bring us in. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Red Leaf Retrocast, found on all your favorite podcasting outlets. Thank you for that commercial, Andrew. It was fantastic. Let me tell you, I love it.
Oh, it's awful. I look like such a dodo.
Oh, and thank you for being here. By the way, I don't know if I've mentioned that enough. Very happy.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I don't know if I've said that before.
No, I don't know if you have either. Tori, has he praised us enough?
I'm sure he has.
I sense a little animosity in the back of your voice right now.
No, it's fine.
Based on what we were talking about in the break, but that's okay. We're here to talk about this anime, this little tiny anime called Whistle. And Andrew, since this was your baby, your pick, your suggestion, the whole reason why you're here and why we're all here, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? What year came out? How many episodes? All of the nitty gritty of it.
Ah, man. So, you know what? I'm just going to use my notes really quickly here.
Yeah,
Let
go
me
for
just just give me a hot second to get to them. But the anime we're talking about is Whistle, and it's based off the manga of the same name, and it was written by the mangaka Daisuke Higuchi. The anime itself was produced by Studio Comet, which gave us such great animes like Initial D First Stage, School Rumble, which is another one of my favorite animes, another soccer anime called Captain Tsubasa J, and I forget what Suzuka is, but Suzuka. I know people know what it is.
I know what it is. I've never seen it.
And this anime was also directed by, what's his name? Hiroshi Fukutomi, who directed a few of the previous mentioned anime, Captain Tsubasa J, Suzuka, and a little OVA called Battle Angel, or as we know her in French, Gunam, or as
Yeah. What's ironic? What's nice is we've actually covered a few of these anime on the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we've covered Initial D. We've covered Battle Angel Alita.
Both the OVA and the manga.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll never. I don't think we'll be doing another manga anytime soon. After that one, it was fun. It was an experiment. It was a good experiment for sure.
Yeah, I don't think doing a anime and manga at the same time is all that good though. It becomes a bit confusing.
Yeah, it definitely needs to stay separate.
I don't disagree. Just on a side note, the director also directed something us Fox Kids generationers might know as Flint the Time Detective.
What?
Yeah, that director directed Flint the Time Detective.
Okay, sure.
Detective. Have you never heard of this anime?
No.
It's about basically a crazy scientist who unearths a caveman, and they travel through time to do stuff.
I remember.
Wait
that.
a minute.
I've
This
heard
does
of that
sound
before.
familiar.
Yes, not to be confused with Moncoli Nights.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So yeah, and this aired back in 2002 to 2003, and the manga itself was serialized and weekly Shonen Jump from 98 to 2002. So the anime itself ended around the same time, or the manga itself ended before the anime,
Mhm.
but they didn't actually go through the entire plot of the manga in some ways.
Why would they?
It's so good. So good.
Tori versus Andrew.
Fight! All right.
Fight all.
We're all consummate professionals. So the story is, and I'm going to take your description here, JD. Kazumatsuri Sho's dream has always to be a professional football player. But, this is the My Anime List one. But he has a problem. He's not very good at the game. he got into the prestigious Musashi no Mori Junior High, which is known for both its academics and its athletics. That's the word I was looking for.
Top-rate football team.
Yeah, but he was unable to be anything greater than the third-string substitute. So he decides to transfer schools. So he goes to Sakura Josui Junior High, where in the ward that his prefecture that his brother lives in, so that he can finally play some football. And with the help of his friends, teammates, new friends, teammates, a strong will and determination, lots and lots and lots and lots of hard work, some soccer skills that will rapidly develop. It's all putting Sho on his path to achieving his dream. I took some artistic liberties there with the summary.
I approve.
So you can sort of divide the show up into, or do you want to do basic thoughts, or do you want to? I don't know how you guys usually go about this.
So we talk a bit about the story. What I've done here is, they're not technically the story arcs that we go by, but what I got out of this was 4 arcs. Just to go through them loosely. Arc 1 is I called him Kaz. Just for short.
You can just call him Sho or Kaza. They called him Kaza.
Kaza? All right.
Yeah.
Kaza joins the new school to play football is Arc 1. Arc 2 is there's some training. Their first round opponent is naturally Kaza's ex-school, Musashi no Mori. And then Arc 3 is what I took to as he's learning to play the game with this coach that happens to join the team. And then they face a slew of opponents. My favorite probably my favorite game is in that arc. And then Arc 4 was what I've dubbed the Tokyo International Training Camp and the team itself.
So I would actually slightly adjust the arcs a bit differently. I would say that everything up until the first fight against Musashi no Mori would be the first arc, because it feels very much like that is very much an arc for not just Sho but for the team.
Sure.
Then I would say the second arc is the getting the coach / the Kokobu number 2 high school, junior high that they face twice, because it kind of starts off and then caps that kind of arc of getting why they need a coach and getting the coach and what happens with the coach. And then there's the summer tournament arc where like a lot of the good games you would probably, or a few of the games are where they just face a slew of opponents. And then I would agree with the last one, the Tokyo, I guess, quote unquote international training team selection and their game versus North Korea. Versus Korea, South Korea.
North Korea. That's more or less the same as what I said, just a little tweak here or there. So
yeah, no. Exactly.
What was your favorite? Well, my favorite arc in particular was definitely what I've written down here as the second one. My least favorite was definitely Arc 4, the last one, the International Training Camp. But that's not to say I didn't not enjoy the show by any means. I just think it definitely slowed down a bit there.
Yeah. So you said your favorite game was the first one against Musashi no Mori?
Oh, my favorite arc, yes, not my favorite game in particular.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, definitely, I agree. My favorite arc is the first arc, also.
Yeah.
Well, if you include the game against Musashi no Mori, which is like the first 9 or 10 episodes.
Yes, the first 9, yeah. What about you, Tori?
I don't know. I don't really particularly have a favorite arc. To me, this show stayed pretty consistently all over the place. I don't really have anything that stood out to me as like I particularly liked it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. And I would agree. Like the last arc, unfortunately, I think suffers from it not being longer. Like if this is a 50-episode show, I think you would get a little bit more from those characters, which might actually improve the enjoyment of that overall part of the anime.
Yeah, it's almost like it was like I get the goals involved for every arc or this illusionary wall that they always got to pass or overcome in every episode or arc itself. I just think that the more the show went on, it was losing its sight on that, or the hype factor, you might say.
I can see that, definitely.
I don't know. I don't think it ever had that much hype factor, at least not with me.
Oh,
What?
interesting.
Huh.
That is very surprising because I thought the show and especially a lot of the music helps a lot with this as well. By the way, I think it actually plays it out pretty hyping a lot of times. I would say a lot of their matches. What was that one thing you said that you should expect is that it will make the viewer think it isn't predictable and boring at all, even though you sort of know how it's going to play out. And I found that a lot of the matches, even though I know either they're going to win or they're going to lose or how it's going to turn out, I still kept a lot of the tension there with it.
The tension was there for a few of the games. I think it was inconsistent, at least from what I got from watching it was the issue with keeping that tension and suspending my disbelief in that is it repeated its same formula seemingly almost every game. And so when it did that, like let's take Kuroko no Basuke, how basically every game comes down to the last like 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I got the same thing, like it definitely did the same thing in Whistle, but that formula that it was trying to do definitely wore on me as I was watching it.
Remember that thing I told you, or JD, when and I was like, okay, I see, they're coming down to the last seconds and then score an impossible goal, and then all of a sudden there's a minute left. It's like,
there was an episode of that, yeah. They rolled
like,
back the clock.
They're trying to extend that like excitement, so they just run the clock after they score in the quote-unquote final seconds. Instead of just going, oh yeah, no, there's like a minute of added time. No. There's say fucking run the clock back a minute. It's like, what?
Well, they say extra time a lot in this anime, though.
That was just one instance where I think there was a production issue.
They show you the clock, right, and it's like ticking over, and it's just a couple seconds left. It's like, okay, cool. And then the next time when he scores and they show you the clock again, it's been dialed back a minute.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Okay, so this is the other thing that grasped me was definitely the character of Kaza. He was interesting, but there was God, how do I put it? There was flaws in how he was portrayed and what made him better than everyone else, but at the same time, the story did it well. So it's more or less just my opinion on the character itself.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's better than everyone else. He has potential, for sure. But, I mean, kind of, at least even when you come to that last arc, kind of the thing that I got with, it's like, he has things that the others don't have. But when it just comes in terms of, like, general game brain or general just, physicality, speed, he's not better than anyone else. The only thing he's better than at is like he loses to everyone over like the 100-meter dash, but on those first 40 meters he's the fastest.
Yeah, well, he's short.
Yeah, well, that short does not equal speed.
Well, not over long distances, it sort of does translate in a lot of ways. Anyway, long story short, I think what they portray, not in terms of skill, they've actually repeatedly say he's better than like the people on his team, but on a more local level, he's still like one of the weaker players. But that's not what people ever find interesting about him, though. It's his determination and his ability to always be paying attention to the game and finding space and creating space. That's always something that people have found interesting in him. And I think it comes down to his earnestness, that he's a very earnest character, and I think people find that endearing. The finding
space thing he kind of had to learn, but like that is one of those things that, but I just generally don't like these types of players. That's one thing that really bothered me about Kasamatsuri, because his earnestness to the point where he is literally about to throw the fucking game for his team because, but you went to get that penalty. So I don't like that. He is literally fucking tackled inside the 18-yard box. Who cares if he annoyed the defender in order to draw the challenge? He's literally tackled.
Yeah,
You're saying that you don't want to score penalties. Like, fuck you.
No, and that's definitely an instance in the anime that kind of irked me. Also, as a person who plays sports, just like what we talked about earlier when we were talking about like what to expect in sports anime. Okay, you goaded the player into getting a penalty. Like I do that in sports all the time too. Basketball, when I played football in Germany, what have you. Okay, you don't blow a game for any reason. Like, okay, you may not agree with a teammate's tactics or anyway. You talk about that shit in the locker room. You don't. And then the other thing is, why would he give him the ball to do that as well?
That's one of the weird parts. But like
that actually, it's not. That's very much Shige's character throughout the entire anime.
It is, but still, like the thing that bothers me though is like they could have saved that scene pretty easily, and you know how? Make Shige dive. Make him simulate contact, that there's no contact, and then get the penalty, and then say, Kazumatsuri doesn't like that, because there are professional players that will miss penalties for that, because they don't like diving.
Yeah.
Like, that I could get, but he is actually tackled. It's like, that's a fair penalty. Just because you're sitting there, it's like, yeah, but you annoyed him. Who cares?
I think it's implied that it's not explicitly stated, and I think it's implied that
cheating.
I think it wasn't as big of a tackle as it's implied to be, and that he actually made it. And he taken a dive, even though there was contact. He made more of a scene.
I don't know. The dude like broke his shoulder on the play, so it wasn't like it wasn't a big deal.
No, that wasn't the play that he pulled a PK from.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
At the beginning of that match.
Well, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's when he tries to take a shot early on, he does that crazy thing. That's why he says, yo, my arm's kind of beat at this point. That's where he plays most of that game with a somewhat broken arm.
Yeah, okay. I thought I must...
Oh my god, no, you just made me hate Kazumatsuri even more. He has broken his arm early on in the match, and he still decides to take that dive to the ground, hastening his injury, and you missed the penalty. What a guy.
Yeah, but that also goes to the theme, the heavy theme in this, where it's play with honor and respect, which is a very Japanese thing.
Yes.
Yep. That's why the Japanese suck and they're not going to win the World Cup.
But that's not the point, though. It's about the honor. You say that a lot of Japanese people do stupid things for their pride and for their honor, but I think what it is that this is one of the clashing of ideals that Sho does come up against to play the soccer the way he wants to play with.
Sure.
Right? This isn't the first one. I think the first one comes around the what is it? The Kokobu #2 match, where he meets the character Tenjo, who's a player who's just full of power and doesn't want to work as a team, and Kazumatsuri is the kind of team player. Even though he does a lot of solo plays, he's always trying to think of the best way to support his team.
I find that so funny.
Yeah, it's kind of going against like the idea of a striker is to take control of scoring yourself, but yet he's a heavy team player. I think for his character, actually, it would have been much better if he was a midfielder. To me, that would have made the game more interesting.
Well, here's where I kind of want to disagree with you, because he plays as a part of his strike, like a striker combination, and it's not uncommon to have a support striker and a main goal threat. Now, granted, he's technically both, which is kind of weird, but
yeah, almost like a center forward or something.
Yeah, but the thing that annoys me though with his earnestness is, or even in that respect, is that he is, I would say, too earnest, but I don't mean like I understand that they want to make him earnest, and they want to make him play honorably and for whatever. That's fine. You can do that. And for a lot of portions of it, I wasn't really bothered by it, because okay, yeah, fair enough. He wants to play fair. There hasn't really been anything that happens that cheating, but other than that, there hasn't really been any serious cases in which he just had to make some weird decisions apart from that penalty. And that is, again, it becomes that odd thing where it's I feel like he needs to have you can't claim both, right? You can't claim complete fair to play, like with absolutely nothing given to me, and yet at the same time claim that you have you're the biggest winner out there, like you have the biggest winning brain, you want to win every. Like, you can't have both. I'm sorry. Something goes in the way in the other. And another thing that I also find funny is how remember, like, I get it. The thing with Mizuno when he is when he is taking his frustrations out on the sport, he is playing by himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's a midfielder and he's dribbling 3 opponents and scoring hat tricks. And I love how they're criticizing him. Everyone's criticizing him for it. Yet I'm sitting there like, but Kasamatsuri does this so often. But he's a striker, so it's okay. But because this guy's a midfielder, you're not okay with him scoring goals by himself?
Well, no, it's because
he's not playing with a team. I know.
Well, it's not. It's honestly very different because he is purposely ignoring good passes.
No, I know, but that doesn't matter. He gets through. It's like, again, I feel like this could have been done so much better if it would have cost them. If he would have failed to get through. If he would have passed up passing opportunities to take on a more difficult approach and failed. The fact that he then succeeds and yet they're still like, that's not right, man. That's not okay.
Well, okay, Tori. I've been in situations. Let's take basketball. So it's a team sport, very much kind of in that same realm. There has been situations I've been in where a guy will score the next 8 points for the team, but he's doing it so much by himself and making dumb decisions that you get mad of him. You get mad at the guy now. Like, you go, okay, great, you've done this for the team. However, if you keep doing that, you're gonna end up hurting the team even more so in the long run. That's what I think the show was going for in that sense, in that instance.
Definitely was.
I don't disagree with that, but I still think it is handled poorly because ultimately, criticizing someone for doing well doesn't bode right with me. It is like, and especially when you literally have this happening all the time with strikers, when the fact that they will literally not pass the ball to dribble their opponents, but when the midfielder does it, it's a problem.
No,
that is definitely not what the show is implying at all, actually.
It might not be, but it certainly looks that way.
I
didn't.
Yeah,
I think that's what. I think you're taking the wrong thing out of that completely.
I
don't disagree that it couldn't have been handled better, but I do understand where the show was coming from in that sense. Absolutely. So I'm on Andrew's side and Tori's side simultaneously. I know that's kind of copping out towards this discussion, but
but like I said, I mean, literally, the only thing I would want from that scene to be done differently is I don't want them to lose the match, but I would have you see him rather than always just seeing him going through the scoring. You see him, okay, he is trying to take on an opponent. Oh, he lost the ball. Now they have to win it back.
I think what I think everything could have been the same. And then when Kaza confronts him and and actually tells him to his face, "Hey, you're playing way too solo. Maybe on the next play or so, when he does go, when his name's Mizuno, right?
Mizuno.
Yeah.
Mizuno, when he goes solo again and tries to do his own thing because he's mad at he has got daddy problems. That's when he loses the ball or makes a bad decision, and he kind of has a revelation. To me, that would have been a better solution for it, and it kind of more or less happens, but it's not very obvious on the field.
Well, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on the field at all, actually.
No, it happens off field, which I think it should have happened on the field for better
commentary.
Yeah,
there I disagree. I don't necessarily think because he doesn't need to. Again, that comes down to a single game. They don't need to understand why they're wrong in that game. There are absolutely times in which you don't understand the weakness in your own play, which they also address multiple times in this show, in which it takes a while. Mizuno asked this as well in the final arc, where he don't understand when he's getting subbed out for Kasamatsuri, and it's like, look at what he has that you don't have, and he's like, I don't get it.
I quite like that. I quite liked when the show would do things like that. It was one of the more better highlights that in a football anime that I've seen where it handles.
And that's where they use, the wall the other way, because it's like
right.
Everyone has a wall. Everyone has something they want to achieve. Somebody that wants to be better. Everyone has a quote unquote rival in that team that they want to catch up to. Mizuno doesn't have that because he's at the top. So he's kind of like said, he is, and like they point out, he is content with his level of skill because there's no one better than him. So
right. Yeah. Oh my God. I've been there. I've been there myself. And just take bowling for example. But anyways, I want to take a step back, guys, if you don't mind.
No.
Sure. There's a lot of tropes in this show. A lot of sports tropes. Not necessarily a bad thing. A couple things irked me.
Like what?
So they play his ex school right away in the first tournament. It's your natural Japanese club type thing in a one round or a one knockout round tournament style thing. They do actually lose that first match against him, which I thought was weird that they didn't go back and play them down the line. I thought it was an interesting way to go about it differently, playing certain teams. I saw a lot of Prince of Tennis art style and story patterns, but when I researched this a little bit, I did discover that the manga for Whistle came out before the manga for Prince of Tennis. Yeah. However, the anime of Prince of Tennis came out before Whistle. So I'm wondering if Prince of Tennis, and they were from the same magazine too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, both in Shonen Jump, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, this is just speculation naturally, if they both had like the same the same editor, and he's kind of pointing them both in the same direction for everything, and just to see which one would take off more.
It's possible. I think he was. Or Prince of Tennis came in and they're like, well, this Whistle thing is doing good. Can you mimic this a bit? And then when it blew up because of how it was, then when the anime for Prince of Tennis came out, the anime for Whistle is like, hey, take a little bit from the Prince of Tennis anime. So I think it's like one hand feeding the other kind of thing.
Yeah, because I saw a lot of similarities, even to the point of the art style and kind of how rival characters and whatnot were drawn and portrayed. And I'm wondering if this anime Whistle here was cut short because it wasn't reaching the Prince of Tennis levels of popularity, but that's just my own speculation. I couldn't actually find any statistics or anything on that at all, so I was kind of sad.
Very little information on Whistle out there, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very hard to find any because I was just so curious if Prince of Tennis, the anime, I think it definitely affected the numbers and stats of the anime, but I have nothing to I couldn't find anything to prove that otherwise.
It's very possible.
Yeah. I also saw there was a lot of elements taken from Captain Tsubasa, especially in the initial story arc. Which was fine. I didn't have an issue with that. It actually if anything, it got me more engrossed in the anime.
Like what? I'm curious because I feel we were talking about almost two polar opposite kind of characters here.
They are polar opposites, but it was more or less how the team was built, who they're facing, those kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it's a very small portion, but to me it was it was a noticeable portion. But it did get the story going in very much the same way.
It would make a transfer student shows up and basically allows the team to grow to
exactly.
Yeah, and it would be dumb to think it doesn't take anything from Captain Tsubasa, because Captain Tsubasa is very much the prototypical soccer anime and manga.
Right. Let's see, what were some other things? The match is always coming down to the last minute, and they always end up winning in some way. But what Whistle did very interesting, it did wear on me. I did mention that before, how the results always went. They didn't go down the exact same way, but it felt like it. It was just a feeling. They did lose the first game, they drew a couple, and they came back and won, but it always came down to that last minute.
Oh yeah.
I had a hard time believing that they would actually lose a game once they lost against Musashi no Mori. Kaz's his previous school.
Oh yeah, but they actually do though. That's the funny part. But it's played off as very much we're pretty much done with the school team arc right now. Let's go to deal with this Tokyo international team.
Yeah, it really threw me off. I'm like, oh, okay, do I really care? All right, I guess we learn about Kazumatsuri's backstory and how his parents died in a horrible car accident, and yeah, his his dad was an ex J leaguer, had a lot of potential, and it's like, oh, okay, whatnot. Yeah. So this brings up a question. Up a question I had. He somehow makes it into this prestigious academic and football school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because he's short, the coach won't play him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've been in the exact same situation. All right. I was literally cut from it. I was told to my face, "You're better than these guys on the team, but you're too short, and I don't want you on there." So what did I do? I went to another team immediately because I didn't even want to be a part of that system. But Kazumatsuri stayed in the system for a long time, at least a year, I believe, is what it was.
It was a year. He transferred in his second year. Yeah.
So I guess he couldn't change right away.
It's I think a part of the Japanese school and cultural system. Usually you can't transfer, I guess, without extenuating circumstances. I would assume, and it's just not normal. I think what he did, because it shows that his parents are very not strict, but very high expectations in general, and so I think he stuck with it for a year to see if anything would change. And then they do have that moment where the reason why he did transfer, because I don't think he ever had an intention of transferring, is when he hears the other classic trope of high school anime, hearing people saying bad things about you in the club sports room.
Right, yeah, that exactly happened. Another trope I wanted to bring up for sure. But that wasn't why
he transferred, though. He wasn't upset. He just wanted to play football, as he stated. No, I also just take it as the kind of stereotypical Japanese thing was you mustn't run away. You must be there to fight.
But so here's the thing.
He wasn't give up.
But here's the thing. They really emphasize him having good dribbling skills because that's all he got to take part of.
No. He doesn't have good dribbling. He has good lifting.
Yeah, lifting skills, right? Yeah. So
I've got to say, I just find that so hilarious. He has got good lifting skills, which I would assume then, which kind of transfers into him having a good control. I would expect him having good control, because in order to lift the ball and keep it under control, you obviously need control. But later on, it's established that he actually has terrible control, which is what?
Yeah, exactly. It was very his skill level was quite confusing to me, and then
it's all over the place.
It's really just all over the place. I could never pinpoint it at all. So the trope of him just wanting to win the most was his typical or not typical, was his best skill. I really had a hard time believing it, but I get what the anime was going for. 100%.
I don't think it was wanting to win the most. I don't think that's what it was. I think it was a strong determination to play soccer. And I think you can look at it as wanting to win the most, but in this system, to play more soccer, you have to win. But I think his goal was always just to play as much soccer as possible. And it's like in the last arc when he says, I'll only get to play 25 minutes, but I'm going to make these 25 minutes count, because that's as much I want to play, so I can play more soccer in the future.
That's a proper substitute right there.
That's a very much substitute type attitude for sure.
Well, actually, a lot of the substitutes, they're just like, well, fuck it, I don't even get a chance.
Yeah, but to be fair, he's only been ever really a substitute.
I know.
And,
third stringer.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think when, like you said, him quitting, he quit. And we find this out in the first arc. He didn't quit. He left because he found out that they weren't going to let him play soccer. It wasn't because that they were dicks, because he had no problem doing all the hard work. Is that when they told him, it's like, we'll never let him play. He's like, well, that's not why I came here, because I wanted to do well for my parents and be able to play soccer. And if I'm never going to get the chance to play soccer, why am I even here?
Yeah, you can do well academically anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, can I also just kind of I'll be annoyed at that when he actually gets to his new school as well, when he gets to Sakura Josui, because his determination is very high until, well, when he kind of, when everybody gets a sniff that was from Musashi no Mori. Like, oh, he's a starter from Musashi no Mori. It's like, no, he wasn't. But it's like, when they finally figure out that he actually sucks, it's like, I guess I should quit the team. I'm just when I saw that, the more I was thinking back to, I'm like, I understand that you're dejected, but that's kind of like your determination went down fast.
It was very anime of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't quite care for that at all. And then
that is actually an anime switch. I read the first volume of the manga, reread it recently.
Okay.
And in the first volume, he doesn't get confronted by the manager of the soccer team to be like, "Why are you being such a little bitch? Go! Like, you say you love soccer, prove it." Actually, in the manga, he actually just says, "Okay, that was very embarrassing. If I even want to play on the same field as them, I'm gonna have to practice and train and learn skills."
Oh, that would have been better, because then maybe when episode 11 came around, I wouldn't have hated it as much.
I need to kick this ball at the wall harder.
Yeah.
The way he practiced also, how it justified his skills developing was very, very odd.
It didn't. It was. I think it's the later reveal that his father was an actual Japanese. Like, there was a latent ability there from his inherited skill.
Yeah, another kind of my dad was good, therefore I'm good type thing happening.
Wasn't it? That was shown in episode. Well, not that he was his father, but like that thing that you see in like the beginning of the first episode, isn't it? Where it's. Or am I completely missing that? Because
no, that's in the first.
It's like, yeah, when he's like, he is natural. He's a natural, and then you cut to this dude.
Yeah, no, okay, a lot of that is just saying that he's a natural is a kind of a joke. I think it's like how a kid is a natural at anything.
Of course, he's like, what is he?
But I think it's also to explain that his dad was a soccer player, so it's inherent that his ability, I guess genetically, he's more predisposed to be a natural at it, and so that's in a way to sort of explain how he gets better at it faster than you would assume. And he also puts in a lot of time into it.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly just he breathes, sleeps, and eats football for sure.
Yeah.
The show does a good job at portraying how much he loves the sport and wants to work at it and get better. Just the like kicking a ball at a wall every day, I'm not sure how much that'll help your dribbling skills or what have you. I mean, I really wish the show would definitely because there were coaches in this.
Nope.
Later on
there were coaches, but they didn't actually teach him anything. It was always a tryout or this cryptic use of info. It's very anime. It was very anime. It's always I won't tell you how to find space or teach you how to find space. I'm just going to give this cryptic message of what you could do, or here's a manual of things you can develop. Like, no, you're a coach. Do your job. Coach them.
It's a very Mr. Miyagi kind of teaching style a lot of these coaches have, because it's anime. That's honestly one of those tropes in anime you kind of have to just accept, because I very rarely know any. I don't know of any many sports anime where the coach actually does anything more than
no. I mean,
advice.
Like Prince of Tennis, the coach there is almost like totally worthless because
damn, he's a step up.
Well, it's actually a she, and she just kind of hangs out and just like picks the lineup, and that's about it. But really, at the end of the day, all the students pick themselves and train themselves, and Whistle's no different for sure.
No, definitely not. And you know what?
That's why Kuroko is so good, because at least there she can analyze everyone.
Yeah, I mean, well, this anime also had the female manager, and I elephant out of the room here. I have to talk about episode 11 here. All right, Andrew, you knew it was coming.
All right, if you guys are just gonna hate on this so much.
No. I like this anime was 39 episodes. I wish it was 38. Because this episode 11 did not need to be there at all. If it just made me hate what was happening on screen in so many different ways, and it was flawed. So hear me out as I go through what happens here from my notes. So we established early on that the girl, the manager girl, has skill, because she also told Kaza he's a little bitch. Why you quitting? You know, I would love to join the team. Well, okay, they're down a player, coincidentally enough, and Kaza goes, oh well, manager girl over here is really good. She should play. And she's like, oh, you know, I'd love to. And everyone's like, well, you're gonna have to prove it because you're a girl. And she does, no problem. She's in fact better than almost everybody on the team. Period. And they all recognize it. Like, great. So they go to play the game, and she's, what is she, like the right wing?
Yeah.
She's the right wing, and she's making an impact immediately on the field. She's really good. But as soon as the other team discovers it's a girl, and they even do the little tit grab, it's like, haha. That's when this whole Japanese play with pride and honor thing goes a little bit too far here. Because they not only take her, they stop passing to her, and then they take her out of the game, and she just kind of goes, okay.
Yeah.
And everyone's in agreement. Everyone.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I said it. It's annoying to me too. I don't like that part. That's like, you know, like I made fun of it earlier. The moment the opponents find out that she's a girl, it's like, well, we can't let her play because now the left back is afraid of marking her, and I'm like, but why? Like, for what purpose would you be afraid of marking her? Well, she's a girl, and so it's like,
it's very Japanese of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very
but it's
Japanese,
like,
unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's not even that he's just going softer. He just straight up decides to not even bother. He's like, well, I can't play anymore. Like, I have to mark her, and I can't do that, so I'm just gonna have to give up. And then, you know, Mizuno stops. He's like, I can't pass her because he knows she's a girl, and then he won't play, and we can't play like that. So therefore, he eventually says we need to substitute her because of this, and then whatever happens.
Well, they end up drawing the game.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. And it was a game that they really wanted to win. But the line that preceded that was, we could never fill the void that she left. Like, no one could match her skill level. So they admitted then that she was better, and they needed her. But they'd rather... It's a lot of cultural... it's a clash of culture right there.
Well, okay, so... It sort of follows to a thing that happens later on with the whole Shige thing, right? Where it's like win with honor or not kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And I get it. It's not I think it's better portrayed than a lot of other anime. And in a lot of other anime, she wouldn't have even had the opportunity to go on the field, even as good as she is. Period.
I felt...
In a lot of other shows, she would have been like, well, she is really good for a girl, but when she comes up against the guys... they're all faster, stronger.
But in this instance, she was better than all of them. They acknowledge it. So after the game, she's all upset because, and with good reason.
Yeah.
She's a girl. She was outed. It's incredibly sexist of what just happened. She's pissed off. She's a girl. She would rather be a guy. You know, she wants to play football. That's all she wants to do. The exact same thing that happened to Kaz, and then Kaza goes up to her and is like, don't be a little bitch. Like, it's not the same thing.
Well,
actually, it's Mizuno.
Or Mizuno does it, but...
and he doesn't say that. Okay.
He doesn't...
When she says it to Kazumatsuri, she's literally saying, stop being a little bitch. Okay, so... you're not wrong. It's still problematic. And I'm not going to super defend the show here. I still think it handles it better than a lot of other sports anime that deal with this kind of thing. But so one of the reasons why he pulls her out is because even though she is better, the other team isn't playing at all anymore because they all know it's a girl. So even if they do win, and it's a practice match, so it literally means nothing other than to get some good practice in.
That's not what they were looking at it as, though.
But they still wanted to show that their skills have improved. But if they had won the match because the right side was always free because the other guy wasn't even going to touch her, it kind of didn't mean anything to them at that point, because pulling her out, unfortunately, is the most shameful thing they could have done in some ways. but in his mind, when he does it, and remember, these guys are 14 years old. As much as you think that they're high schoolers.
I played when I was in baseball in junior high and high school. There was a couple girls on the team as well. No one.
Baseball's a bit different though.
I don't know. It's mixing the women in the sports, and if the women are good enough. But that again, it's a clash of cultures, definitely from how I see it and how they see it. I recognize that.
I think particularly is that one, it wasn't a quote-unquote fair game in the sense that the other team wasn't even trying at their fullest, which made it sort of meaningless. And at the second part, when Mizuno comes up to her, and he isn't trying to say Kazumatsuri. Well, they do actually equate the fact that being female is sort of a deficiency, like being short in Japan.
Yep, they sure did, didn't they?
Which is problematic, yes, but the greater message was just because it doesn't mean you have to give up. You can find other ways around this. And
so
start the female team, which never happened.
So yeah, no. So this is what also irked me, because at the end in that final conversation, they're like trying to make her feel better again, but at the same time, their words that was going along with it was insulting. Not the way the anime like she was taking it or what have you. It was the way I was taking it personally, where they go, "You're really good. We recognize it. You should start we would love to play with you, but you should start your own team." So it's basically to me saying that, "Oh, you're really good. We'd love to have you, but you're a girl, so fuck off."
Yeah, but then again, on the flip side of that, just to kind of say the anime a little bit as well. They do kind of flip that later, when they are starting that super team for all the Tokyo players. When the female coach there has to step in to coach them, and the star striker, he's just like, "Nah, I'm not gonna take orders from the girl.
I'm not taking orders from a woman."
Yeah, she sucks at football anyways, and she just fucking destroys him. Like, can you take my orders now? And they're just like, yeah.
You see, I found that one more problematic.
Why?
Well, that's because it clashed with what we just saw.
No, because I think episode 11, it actually, they try, the other players are unfortunately sexist, and so Mizuno, I don't think what Mizuno does, he does out of sexism, to be
No, he does it out of pride and honor, but it's definitely sexist. Whether it was, the intent wasn't there, but it was.
Yeah, it happened to be. What it happens with Akira, the coach, is that the striker is actually just being straight up sexist.
Well,
and she has to shut him up.
But that's why I like it, because I love that when it's like literally now we're dealing with actual, where it's intended to be, and then it's just kind of like, shut the fuck up.
It is. I find it problematic because the previous coach was this fat slob,
right,
of a coach, and so why would they take his orders? But the moment that the woman is now a coach, she has to prove herself.
Well, he is these. We don't even know if they would take his orders because he never even got the chance.
They would have. That's what they did make clear. If she was a dude, no problem.
Well, yes, no, I know. That's what I mean. They are being sexist. That's not the thing. But again, the reason why, I like this because that is a very real thing. That's not even just a Japanese thing. That is a problem in football in general. In the fact that men especially in the football industry, they refuse to accept that a girl can be good at something. They cannot listen to a girl. They cannot take advice from women because they're worse in general, no matter what. And there are obviously exceptions, but that's just a general problem. So that's why I like that they get to, or that she gets to show them up. And besides, when it comes to that other guy, he's not exactly portrayed as a great coach either. He is that stereotypical coach who is just like, well, I've seen it all. I just know looking at them, I already. It's like when he's just like, nah, he's never. Yeah.
I would say, I guess it's sort of like, you're right, it is sort of an inverse, right? Where the situation is handled better in the later parts, but the earlier part, the message comes off differently. I don't know.
Well, but again, it's like, you're right. When people, when you mentioned, it's sexist, yes, and it is portrayed that way, because that's kind of the angle they're going. They're trying to say, yes, they are sexist. That's why they refuse to take her orders. That's why she has to show them up. That's why she does show them up.
It was like these clashing moments. Like this was just the most noticeable between how that coach was handled and how the manager was handled earlier in the show. Just like Tori, you mentioned with, well, I guess we were talking about this earlier, where rules apply now, but all of a sudden when we play this team, it doesn't apply. Studs to the back right away. The show has a lot of instances where something that happens earlier is now inverted later in the show, and it just doesn't quite match up.
And I that might actually be more anime consistency problems, I think.
Yeah,
because I don't think those are things that happen in the manga per se. I honestly haven't had a chance to reread the entire manga, but if you after reading the first volume, you can tell that the mangaka has this love for football and soccer.
Yeah,
and he definitely understands the sport really well.
That can be debated. But no, but again, I don't really see that even as because again, it's one of those things where when you're talking intent, I think that first one is because it's just I feel like what they're trying to do does not match up with what they're actually doing.
Yeah, the words on the screen don't match the actions a lot of the time.
Whereas the second time, it is literally a case like you could call it problematic if you want to, but that is exactly the angle they're trying to make it as. They're trying to make it problematic because it should be problematic.
All right, so I feel we're getting a little bit too negative on the show, and just to make it clear. I did enjoy the show. It was very easy to watch. It's very palatable for sure. It just flew by. I'll throw that out there. But I just had to mention some inconsistencies for sure. What I did like heavily were the build-ups to the game within itself. I thought this is one of the better sports anime I've seen for when a game's actually taking place. The build of the game really grasped me. Despite what I thought of how the games ended and how it wore on me, the build was great. The one that sticks out to me the most was, there was two of them. There was the one against the all-defense team with Tsubasa.
Kiba, yeah.
He was my favorite character, and I thought they could have done a lot more with him. And maybe if I read the manga, maybe no, it would probably focus on Kaza. Who am I kidding?
No, they do more because after that match, the Japanese arc, there's definitely more that happens after the Korean game.
Okay.
In the manga.
Yeah,
it definitely goes past that. Like you could have done another 13 episodes with what was left in material, but I think it just didn't have the numbers to keep it. So
right.
How they did it.
So I really liked his character. The when they faced his team and how he was able to coordinate a defense and call offsides. That was, to my knowledge, that was the only time offsides was ever called in the entire anime. And then my favorite match was the rain match. The one where they're fighting in the mud, and it really felt like there was grit and grind involved, and a struggle, and learning the illusionary wall that the show really likes using. The main theme, there was multiple walls in this match to overcome. I absolutely adored these what was it, 2 or 3 episodes?
Oh yeah, it was like I think 3 or 4 even.
Yeah. It was very captivating. That was my favorite. And that came in probably that came at a very opportune time, because I was about getting a little bored of the show at that point. Like the whole process of learning, where the coaches call it teaching, use it loosely, where they're learning to play as a team, learning to dribble, learning certain skills, practice. That match was it was a culmination of all of that effort. And it was a good environment to use it.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about that match is that it isn't even, I would put it, set up in the same way. It doesn't, you don't meet these characters beforehand. They just kind of show up and you think it's going to be another breeze through match. And it turns out that, no, this is actually an actual crazy match where everyone is fighting to get past this wall. Not just the players on our who we're following, but the players on the other team have this wall that they want to climb as well.
Yeah,
and they're not going to give up as well.
Yeah, I liked at not only halftime, but when the game went into extra time, that the manager's like, "Hey, let's clean our cleats off, chip all the mud out." I was like, "Oh my god, I've been there in like baseball, like every inning, I'm chipping the dirt out of my shoes." Like, so many elements were so good in that match, and then Tsubasa, the character, the defensive guy, I really got annoyed in the Tokyo Invitational arc because he was clearly like the best fucking player on the field, and he's getting nothing. No recognition.
You can't play. Why not? You're too short.
Like, he's short, no one respects him, he shows he has all the skills, he's blocking shots, like, he's trying to coordinate a defense by himself, players are listening to him immediately, but the coaches and the forwards are like, well, who's that fucking kid?
Well, okay, so yeah, he is. So the problem is that fat coach is obviously kind of lazy. And
Sure.
He already has things in his mind. And, Akira was one of the reasons why he's there. Because she, the entire time, is like, he may have the lowest power, but he definitely has something about him that makes him perfect for this team.
Yeah, he's like the perfect defenseman. He's blocking goal line shots left and right. Nah, the other coach is like, fuck him. Like, I loved Suba.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was great. I mean, he's one of the first players that get picked.
Like, well, by Akira, yeah, and then but she's the whole reason why he's there.
Well, no, they actually had a really good, strong defense. I mean, that's also one of the reasons why he's there, but I'm pretty sure he would have made it to the selection process regardless because of...
Oh, I don't know, because he was part of that like juvenile delinquent team. I don't know. I have a feeling maybe it could have gone a different way, but I absolutely loved his character and his work, and I didn't think he got enough screen time. But if what you say is right, then it'd be good. I wish that they would have had an extra like 10 episodes.
As I've just watched Captain Tsubasa, I think he actually, it's obvious he is an actual direct reference to Captain Tsubasa in a lot of ways. Because, Captain Tsubasa, when he started, he was in elementary school, so he would have been the same height.
Right.
No, but secondly, in the match against the other school, he starts as a defender in the same position that
he does,
Tsubasa,
yeah, exactly.
Sheena is. And then he also would run up and do crazy things like Sheena does, or Tsubasa would do. It does in that match where he plays like the libero role.
Yeah.
But overall, okay, so we haven't really touched upon it much, and I kind of want to bring this up though on a side note because I know you like Tsubasa, but it's like the other side characters that get a lot more character development than you would normally think that they would get, right? So even though Sho's parents are dead and his other parents are absent, his pseudo family or pseudo parental structure of his brother, who is basically, and it's poorly translated, by the way, in the anime. He's actually a host club. He works in a host club.
Oh, he's not part of a model agency or whatever they had him as.
Yeah, I think I don't know why they did it that way, but in the manga he works for a host club, which makes more sense when you think about it.
Yay for fan subs.
So I don't know if the anime changed his position or whatever, but yeah, in the
maybe
manga,
it was the fan subs, like Tori said.
He is definitely a host. So
as they say in the fan subs.
But at the same time, he also is like, you can sort of see that he's coming to terms with the fact that he didn't even go up. He didn't try to climb that wall that was in front of him, and he decided to give up and just do something else. But he knows that his brother is capable of it, and so he will support him in any way, shape, or form. So in the first episode, he's a slob, and then, he sees his brother change, and so he decides to, I'm going to become a better person, so I'm going to clean up the house, I'm going to do all the good stuff. And
I'm going to show off my abs.
And then the other character, who's a great supporting character and parental structure for not just Sho, but for like a lot of the other characters, even like the coach and whatnot, is Oya-san, the Odin stand owner. He comes in at a lot of clutch moments to either give some really good advice or just be that really great supporting like grandfather character. And I think I think they're great. I think the teacher is an interesting inversion on the teacher advisor trope
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, because usually the teacher advisor, even if they don't know soccer, they usually are wise or have some sort of wisdom that they impart on the players to help them, even though they leave all the technical stuff to the players themselves to figure out. But she is very much a ditz. Her age, she's I think 25 in the I think she's supposed to be like 25 or so. So she's a young teacher, and it shows. And I kind of like that about her. I like Kojima as well, because even though she has that unfortunate moment in episode 11, we also, she has that great moment later on when they're picking regulars, and that guy who was a forward in the Musashi no Mori match doesn't get picked as a regular, and so he contemplates quitting, and then she goes up to him and literally says, "Why, you're not even a man if you're going to quit from just this little thing. Who did you think you were to think you were good enough to be a regular?" It's like and so she angers him into rediscovering his passion for soccer. And then those characters also, the side characters that say one line here or there, and you kind of get their whole entire backstory.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of that going on. I did get a little annoyed at times with these side characters, like
Santa.
yeah, you knew exactly where I was going.
Okay.
I'm not. Everyone's getting better, and I'm still this like short, fat kid. I'm quitting, but I don't even have the.
Oh,
that guy.
Yeah.
Noro.
Noro. Okay, yeah.
Not Santa.
But he doesn't even have enough nerve to even tell his teammates, so he's just gonna flat out leave altogether. So
No. He was gonna play that last match, and then he was gonna give the resignation letter.
Yeah, not tell his teammates. He's just gonna here's a letter of I'm fucking off.
But that's very Japan, though.
It is very Japan, absolutely. It's just another part of me just clashing with the culture. I'm fully admitting of it. I had a lot of that happen to me in this anime.
I get that. Actually, I would disagree with the fact that he doesn't tell the teammates. He pretty much all but says, "I'm quitting," in so many times before that match. He's like, "Why am I?" Because he gets into an argument with the genius goalkeeper that comes out of nowhere.
The genius goalkeeper who cannot make any saves, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We're talking about Japanese football here. If you've ever seen Japanese football, you'll know that they have no goalkeepers.
But he's like, "Oh, he thinks I'm the worst. Why doesn't just everyone say it that I'm the worst? I shouldn't even be on the team." And, everyone knows that he might quit. Like, Sho figures it out. Like, he's like, "Okay, if shit goes bad, he's probably going to quit. So let's figure out a way to help him do better." So yeah, but also on a side note, I think the strong point of the show is the characters, period. Like, it more often than not.
It's not the worst sports anime I've seen when it comes to characters, but I don't know. I still feel like a lot of them are too not enough explored for my liking. They're fine. They work. They do their job, but they're fine with some notable exceptions. But yeah, no, I've seen sports anime that have like way worse characters than this, way worse main characters than this.
See, I just think it was the theme that did it for me. The theme of this wall to overcome. Like that's what it did the best.
Oh yeah, I think, and here I'll quote. So the second match where they face off against Tenjo, the really powerful Hafu,
The half German.
The half German. You find out later on. I think a great signifier of that is when he finds him after the match, right? And he goes up to him and he says, "I just wanted you to know that you were great." And he's like, "Are you making fun of me?" He's like, "No, I want to be a pro soccer player. And if you're what I have to be to get there or even be considered, I will get there. And if I have to be better than you to even get in, I will get better than you."
Yeah, and that came into play later during the invitational training camp as well.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. Yeah, that's a good example of the show having its continuity in line, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, Tori, did you... I guess from what I can tell, you were fairly ambivalent on this entire show for the most part.
I'm actually not. I enjoy the show. There's
You
a
sure
part
as shit
of,
wouldn't know it.
really? I don't know. I think the thing is, right? When it comes to sports, anime, especially when it comes to football, I like the sport a lot. Kind of have the same thing as JD does with a lot of this, where like the matches don't do a whole lot for me because I mean, JD will know this. I complain a whole lot about the way the matches are played, the things that they do, because like
Yeah.
I'm all for a piece of amazing skill every once in a while. It's cool to watch, but when it's like the player will never, ever, ever have a normal first touch, it is always with their heel or the outside of the foot because that is cool. It's like, but you can't do that every single time. That's not how that works. But whatever. So I have a lot of stuff with this that I don't like from the perspective of this wouldn't really work like that. But ultimately, I enjoy the show. I had fun watching it. The games are fine. The games are fun. There are obviously annoyances. I have like every time coming down to the last couple of seconds, shooting from the fucking goal line in order to score the winning or like the tying goal even. Right, stuff like that. That's kind of like, okay, you wanna like you wanna increase the tension. I get that, but you're trying to do that and then up the tension even more by making it not just a final second shot, but a final second shot that should never go in.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's unfortunately a trope of a lot of the soccer anime.
Of course it is. It's a trope of a lot of sports anime in general. Like it's the buzzer beater is always the thing, but like it can't just be a buzzer beater. It has to be a buzzer beater. That is also impossible.
I mean, they've done psychological studies. We find that more exciting as Westerners in general.
I would disagree, but yeah, okay. I mean, for myself, obviously.
Yeah, no, they've done it. It's like you appreciate the skill. So like the people who just play the game normally that don't stand out super amazingly are usually the players that are in a bit better than the game because they're more planning and thoughtful and are calculating things out more. But people love the player who makes that flashy catch or that really flashy kick that works out.
I know that's the same thing in like football. The like to put the goalkeepers into perspective, a lot of times it's what they call the TV save, which is like it's a shot that's straight at them, but they kind of jump up and grab it and then they lay out flat in the air like they just made the most incredible leap to get that ball. It's like, okay, that's unnecessary.
So,
Well,
I definitely get that though. But
I've definitely said all of the piece that I had over Whistle personally.
Okay, I have a few more things.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let me just pull up my notes here because I'm silly and I wrote notes. I recorded a whole episode on Just Whistle by myself the other day.
And what was the name of your podcast again?
All right, shameless plug. Recovery of an Anime Junkie. No, we are not racist. Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. It's I talk about anime, and I tend to talk about people and their formative anime. So whenever I get someone new on the podcast, usually it is to talk about either what they're watching currently and to talk about anime that they would have seen when they were younger or when they first started watching anime, to see how and that would describe them now as an anime fan. And so I find that process kind of interesting. So I thought, why not let's ask people about it, because that's what I always find interesting when talking to people. So Tori, I would love to have you on because I think you're fascinating with the. I think it came off very sarcastic, but I really mean that. I think you're very fascinating with your thoughts on anime. So I think I think you'd be an interesting person to talk to about that kind of stuff. But anyway, on a side note, a few of the things I wanted to bring up that we haven't really brought up. So yeah, we brought up a lot of the characters because I think the characters and the theme are very much a strong part of the show. The animation is good, but it's nowhere near like great or amazing.
Sure.
And
yeah.
There's definitely some bad CG in there. I'll fully admit it, but it's a pretty good workman-like animation. It's not egregiously bad, but it's also soccer, and since there's a lot of movement, yeah, I get it. There's a lot of still frames that are used, and there's still some CG, but for the most part,
a lot of two people still frames sliding across the screen.
Yeah, here's the thing. As the resident soccer, I like when it comes to Whistle, it's a fine show visually speaking. It's not amazing and it's not bad per se. The animation, I will say, because it always becomes it's not. I personally wouldn't call it good, but I understand why it isn't. Because, like you said, usually, and I do appreciate this, usually when a football match is portrayed, they will usually try, or even of sports, even sports in general, they will very often use CG to portray it, because the movement and the finer movement of sports is really hard to animate unless
Yeah.
you want to take a lot of time doing it. And I've seen worse examples, like, for example, Ice Shield 21, because whenever somebody is doing something as simple as making a run, literally they have to melt down and just get rid of the entire background and everything, because they couldn't keep that up when quote unquote animating. They're not.
Yeah.
It's kind of like visual tricks like that they use, and Whistle does that too. But it works better in Whistle, in my opinion. It doesn't take you that much out of it, with the exception of the sliding step at times when they're moving forward, but they're literally not even moving a muscle.
Yeah, I mean, even Captain Tsubasa from 2018 is still doing that.
No, I know.
I'm not trying to make your point worse. I'm just saying, it's like it's not. It hasn't changed.
It's something that we don't have there isn't with how with the times or with the lack of time they have to make this and everything in order when it's going to be air on TV. We don't have a viable alternative at the moment for that sort of animation. They would have to be in production for years in order to.
But I would say, because it came out in 2003, 2002 or
2002.
Yeah, 2002. Given that time frame, the amount of CG more that they could have used, I'm glad that they didn't. And I think also it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, that's kind of what I said. They could have used a lot more, and that's why I appreciate that they decided to not entirely rely on CG.
I think it also benefits from the source material being as well drawn as it is as well, because the actual Whistle manga is a nice. It's kind of like Prince of Tennis. It's a really nicely drawn manga, for more often than not. But the animation, I'm glad with it for a soccer anime especially. But I think what we didn't talk about a lot of is the actual soundtrack, the background music, of the anime. I think that is actually well done, personally. I think the music and sound design usually fits well. It doesn't feel like songs are awkwardly put into awkward moments. You know, they're not having a sad moment. They're not playing doop doopity doop bop bop like I've seen in some anime. But I feel like you know when certain tracks come up, something hype is going to happen. You know when a certain track is playing, a comedic moment is happening. You know that there's a reflexive moment when certain tracks are playing.
Yeah, it wasn't a constant loop of just one thing, no matter the instance. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, okay, no matter the instance, but they do use their soundtrack as like, when this song's playing, this thing is happening.
Yeah. No, but it's more it always feels like punctuation and accents than it does like overbearing, or it's not telling you how to feel, but it's saying, it's like, something's about to happen.
Yeah, that being said, though, I didn't exactly enjoy that, like not the opening, but like that, like was it? Oh, what is it? Whenever they're playing or something, and they have that like whistle thing. They start whistling, and then they have these like weird fucked up.
Oh yeah,
I didn't like that. That was a bit annoying.
You mean they're na. But other than the opening and endings aren't.
I like Tori's rendition better.
I do too. Thank you.
But I would say, and I'm speaking strictly about the soundtrack background music, not the opening and ending. The opening and ending I wish were better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like the background, I find for the most part, like I love that hype song whenever they're about to do something crazy, like a crazy shot or a crazy run down the field. It always gets me excited. And a thing I didn't like was the quote unquote love triangle with that other character that nobody really likes, Santa.
Yeah, that just felt forced for anime purposes.
And he's pretty much the same character in the manga from what I remember.
Yeah.
But also Miyuki's voice was a little bit too shrill.
Yeah.
But I also like that Santa gets at least a good moment in the Hiba match where even though he screws up and he has to deal with like, oh shit, I've been talking smack this entire time and now I have to prove it. Oh goddamn. And then when Sho's like, hey buddy, let's play some soccer. Like we're just in a field. You're like my little brother and we're playing soccer. And he's like, yo, bitch, stop doing that to me. And they get up half the field and everyone's just like, what the fuck?
That kind of bothers me. They shouldn't have trouble stopping him still, but whatever.
Well, no, it's because it took them by surprise. They didn't actually expect him to be good. And I give the anime a lot of slack because there are so many dumber premises for soccer anime out there, and so many crazier ones. And for the most part, I think like the characters and theming and the main character, as earnest as he is and as problematic as that can be, I think is part of why I think people find him endearing and interesting, and it's why I kind of fell for that character because of his earnestness and his determination to do better, and it kind of makes you be like want to do better in a way. At least that's how I felt when I read it a decade ago.
No, and that is definitely the intent of the character for sure.
And that's how I feel even when I watch it now. I feel hype. Like I honestly was marathoning at work and I just said, okay, do I have to keep working right now? Or should I just go outside and kick a soccer ball? Where can I get a soccer ball? So, and you know what? I also like that the anime does focus a lot on the soccer as well. I mean, they give you little soccer lessons at the end of each episode. Here's how to kick the ball.
I hate those, mostly because it's like, I mean, I get it. It's aimed at kids, but it's so like rudimentary.
That's what it's supposed to be, though.
I know, but it's like when it's like literally, this is how you kick a ball, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't see any after like the first couple episodes. I just skipped that section and I skipped the opening time.
I don't blame you. So did I.
Yeah.
Opening, ending, everything.
Basically,
Everything I didn't have to watch. They got them this like the commercial break music in between as well. It's like everything that was skippable, I skipped.
Damn. I did like that eye catch though. But one of the last things I'll say, actually, it's probably gonna be the last thing I say, unless one of you guys says something that'll boil my blood.
I don't know.
I like the show's dialogue for the most part. I think there are a lot of well-written lines and scenes and uses of analogies, especially in the first arc. But just in general, I think like when characters talk to each other, for the most part, it doesn't feel natural more often than not. But I still feels like they're getting the point across in a not hitting you over the head kind of way, and sometimes they will hit you over the head with it, but it doesn't feel so egregious.
No, yeah, we've more or less touched on that, especially with my feelings on how the words don't match the screen all the time, the actions on the screen, but then at times it does a very good job with it. I'm very 50-50 on that myself.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think they do a job about it. Well, not necessarily always. I feel like just as a general, all the way through the show, they do a pretty good job with like the choosing of words so that you understand where the characters are in regards to each other. Like, for example, the conflict between Kasamatsuri and oh my god, what's his Mizuno? When it's like, you know, when it's like the kind of thing, you know, they make a point out of it as well. You're not my, like, well, if you're my friend, you're gonna let this go, right? Now talk to me about this. Which is with Mizuno is confronted by Shigi later on about, you know, is that really what you tell a friend? You're a friend if you stop caring and don't challenge me on anything?
Yeah.
That's what you consider a friend?
Right.
And I guess actually last thing, by the way, you know what I'm surprised we didn't actually bring up for how ridiculous it is the last episode. When Shige shows up out of nowhere for the last 3 minutes.
Oh yeah. Why would I show up to the game on time?
And nobody knows who he is too.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody knows who he is or anything, but let him on the field. It's no problem.
Hey man,
that's mostly an anime. We kind of have to end it with on a happy note kind of thing, though.
Yeah. No, that last episode was pretty ridiculous.
Supposed to be on the team.
Well, he was invited.
No, he was gonna make it.
No, So, I mean, if you want slight manga spoilers,
Sure.
so he never actually shows up to the Korea game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And what actually happens is after they have the Korea game, they go back. You know that trip he takes to go see his father in the briefly? He actually stays in that region, Kansai, I think, or wherever it is. He stays in that region and he joins their Senbatsu team. They challenge Sho. So in a way, that clash of ideals that you see thematically comes back to him, that being the final. Shige is sort of the final boss of the show, of the manga.
Oh, interesting.
And it pushes Sho to his limits, and
then he overcomes the wall.
It actually, I mean, technically, he actually gets injured pretty badly and has to go through rehab.
Oh, the whole I could totally see it. Oh, I'm injured, but I'm gonna keep playing, and then I make it worse.
That's the end.
Well, actually, the ending is hopeful. The end is him having finished rehab. You don't actually see the rehab. Okay. It's just like he actually hurts himself so badly during the match. They obviously win, but I think they obviously win. It's been a while since I've read it, and I'm in the process of rereading the manga now. I'm only on volume 2, but he hurts himself, and it's a hopeful message about like how he has to go through rehab so that he can play soccer again. And it's essentially that image at the end where he's walking towards people and they're all just waiting for him, standing at like a station or something. But yeah, the Korea thing actually happens differently, but it ends that way in the animes primarily for thematic reasons of ending the anime on a happy note.
And because I needed an ending.
All right. Well, I'm gonna call this one here.
Yeah.
Man, I expected us to have a lot to discuss, but that was crazy.
Yeah, it definitely was.
But yeah, Andrew, thank you for joining us. Let's go over. No, we are. I was just about to say it. So, Andrew, since this is one of your favorite sports anime of all time, what is your score for it?
I would rather go last because I feel like after I give my score,
influence.
I don't want to temper your score.
All right, well then I'll go first. I'm
curious about what you gave it.
I'll go first then. Again, I didn't hate this anime. I did have a lot of issues with it, be it from a sports perspective or a culture perspective. Yeah, it's not the best sports anime I've ever seen, but it also does a lot of things well, a lot of things captivating. At the end of the day, I feel like it was fine. So a 6 out of 10, fairly enough.
All right.
Tori?
Yeah. So I was contemplating between 2 scores. Not really sure what to give it. So, in my mind, I was stuck between a 1 or a 2.
Oh my god.
I'm joking. I was sitting between a 6 and a 7.
Yeah, I'm very much the same there.
I was about to give it a 6, but then I said, you know what? All right, it's like I have actually enjoyed myself. I can give this a 7. So I ended up giving it a 7.
There you go.
All right, cool. So I usually get shout out on my other podcast, Geeking Out of the Tower, when I give ratings to things I love. So just as a heads up, I don't care if you guys do that to me. So when I first watched it, I gave it a 9 out of 10 because it really hit me in those feels. I was playing soccer at the time. It really spoke to me, and it pushed me to actually be better at the sport that I was just playing for fun at the time. It basically Sho came into my life like he came into their lives and made me want to be better. And so yeah, when I give my rating is purely on an emotional level. I mean, after rewatching it, I went up and I upped my score on my anime list to a 10 because I feel like the show did still gives me the same feels I've had as when I first watched it, even if it's been a few years, and even this is probably like the 3rd or 4th time I've watched the series.
Oh wow.
Since I started watching it back in when it was 2004, I think maybe when it was fan subbed. So I think that's when 2005, 2006 is when I started watching it. So it's been over a decade since this has been with me for over a decade. So when I went back and I went, no, I actually really do like this a lot. Yeah, it does have its flaws, but when I give it my unobjective 10, my biased.
No,
10.
You can give it whatever you want. You're definitely not the first person who's given a 10 for something they love on this podcast, and you won't be the last.
And if I would look
Wow.
at it more objectively, I think I would still have probably given it an 8. So, but I would say, yeah, we'll say I gave it a 10 because I'm crazy. But I really do like it a lot. You know, I think it does hit a lot of emotional beats in me that maybe now I can't go out and play soccer, but I know I have a football match coming, like an American football touch football match coming up in the short time with my friends, and I'm definitely gonna want to go all out and have fun while doing it.
Mhm.
You got one last comment, Tori, or shall I take us out here?
I know my score surprises you, but
No, not really.
Well, not really. I mean, what? This is the second 10 we've had on this podcast.
Well, I mean, there's the case of Evangelion and
oh god,
Serial
yeah,
Experiments
that's sad.
Lane, and no, from other
those
people.
Those weren't 10s, were they?
Yeah, they were.
I mean, Ava is a solid 9.
Avo, I know Avo was technically, but
whatever. But yeah, between that, I think I'm still the only one who's watched a show for the first time for the podcast in particular. Because Andrew, you're rewatching this. You've watched it before. I think I'm still the only one who's watched something for the podcast and given it a 10, which was Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, no, Tori, I did say thank you. But okay, this has been the Red Leaf Retrocast Worldwide Weebs Edition. This is the anime one. Andrew from the Recovery of Anime Junkie podcast. Thank you for joining us yet again. I know I've thanked you twice or 3 times or maybe even 4 by now, but I really love it. This was a fantastic conversation. I love talking sports anime with you. I love talking Whistle. We had a lot to discuss, that was for sure. That went way better than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, you can find the podcast live stream when the connection doesn't go out on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube in description below via Bowling JD. And you can find the edited version with music and what have you on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and all your favorite podcasting outlets. Go leave us a review. Send us an email. That's also in the description below. We highly encourage you to get us out there even further, join the community, and what have you. Thank you, and there we go.
Well, what's going to be on the next podcast?
Shall I mention that?
Yes.
All right, we're talking Trigun in the next one. That's what we're doing.
That's a good one. Though your mileage may vary on the ending. Spoiler alert!
We'll save that for next time.
All right, I have stopped it.
Okay.